Everybody, it is 7:01, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Romeo Board of Trustees for March 21st to order. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I apologize for my raspy voice. I'm still dealing with a little bronchitis, so I'll try and speak into the mic. Catherine, if you would call the roll for me.
Bartholomew?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
Fowler?
Yes.
Hart?
Here.
Parker?
Here.
Poznanski?
Here.
Malzahn?
Here.
All seven are present.
Perfect. We have a quorum. Next up on your agenda is our consent agenda. In the consent agenda, you have minutes from February 22nd and the closed session from February 22nd, which are on the blue sheet. You also have your place setting the minutes from February 7th for closed session that needed to be corrected per last month's meeting. That's on the gold sheet of paper.
Those are the old ones.
Yes, I asked for a reconsideration vote on that.
Yeah, so I just brought the old ones back.
Thank you.
Yes, we're going to make those two adjustments.
Yep.
And then we have council bills and a vendor report. The council bills total $225,311.18, and the others are $36,953.05, as well as your meeting agenda. Is there any discussion or any items that need to be pulled out of the consent agenda at this time?
I'd like to pull out the minutes from the 22nd.
The regular meeting minutes?
Yes.
And if I could, the check register also, please.
Okay.
Discussion on closed session minutes, is that allowed to happen in open, or should that be in closed?
It would be easier for us to remove ourselves than to remove the people.
Okay, then like absent or here, if it's
I mean, yeah, there's that, and then how it's written.
We can go into closed session
We can
to
go into
discuss
closed
the
session
minutes.
if you need to correct those.
Please.
Can we move that to the end? Is that,
Yeah.
we can make
Right.
all these people move?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I would like to add an agenda item to the agenda for the catwalk that was tabled from the special meeting that I was unable to attend. So I'd just like to have a brief discussion on the catwalk.
Is that
Go under unfinished or new?
I would think it would go under unfinished because we had it on the agenda before, so unfinished B.
I would also like to call into question an agenda item. We have an agenda item, new business K, the last item in our packet that is not from a board member. This is a Board of Trustees agenda, and therefore board members' issues are on here. If somebody else would like to have an issue, they could do it during public comment or presentations.
Well, the agenda item requires board action to be taken.
But it's not presented from a board member.
For the cover sheet.
The cover sheet
But it requires board action, therefore it's an agenda item.
brought to us not by a board member.
You can put my name on
I've
it
asked
if you
for
need
stuff to be
but
added to the
it's
agenda
an-
that
It's
have
an
been
agenda
denied.
item that
Agenda
needs board
item.
action, therefore it has to be on the agenda. Okay. I was not sure if we were adding an agenda item for this flyer that was posted on social media that says we were talking about this tonight. It was on your personal page, so I wasn't sure.
I don't believe it says on there anywhere that we're talking about it tonight. I urge people to come voice their opinion tonight, absolutely.
Okay, so you don't need to add it to the agenda?
Well, you didn't seem fit that tabling it needed to be talked about at this meeting, so I suppose not.
I would like to add it to the agenda.
Okay. So,
Unfinished C,
okay.
the appointed positions. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the agenda item has two additions. Catwalk, unfinished B, and appointed positions, unfinished C. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Edwards, support by Parker. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 6-1. Let's take a look at the council bills. Ms. Blazansky, what did you need to look at?
In the check register. Two questions. We have two bills again this month to MIT TV. Last month we paid MIT TV $11,000 and some change. Again this month I see two MIT TV bills on here, or payments. I'm just curious as to why we've doubled up payments in the last couple months.
Actually, Rebecca missed one. She alerted us that it was an oversight on her end, so therefore this was just making up for last month's.
But in last month, we paid MIT TV $11,000. We paid MIT $11,083.32 last month.
I guess
On
similar situation.
2-3.
She's not here, so I can look
Yeah.
into that.
I know that this one was a double payment because one was missed last month.
Isn't
Because I
this-
specifically asked her that, what last month's covered. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to answer that question right now.
Isn't this something we pay every month?
Yep.
How are we missing
It
payments?
should be a reminder that comes up in the calendar to issue a payment automatically per her contract.
Are we missing other payments?
I am not aware of any if we are.
I will look into
But
that.
we've missed them 2 months in a row?
Again, I can't speak to what happened on last month's. It was approved, so I didn't go back to question what that amount was or how many payments that covered. I absolutely can look into that, or Catherine can look into that and let you know.
Yes.
But this month, I know that there was one that was missed.
What month is it supposed to be for? Do you know what applied to? What month was missed?
We can look into that.
Because this isn't the first time I brought up the exact same vendor before for having multiple payments in the same month. And it just seemed, I don't know if it's just an issue with the system and that one vendor, if it's not flagging it correctly.
We can
But
look into that, see if there's a system with the.
I appreciate we did get a response this time because you haven't responded to other ones in the past.
I didn't get any email communications in regards to that.
You
It
shouldn't
was brought
have,
up, it
you
was brought
shouldn't
up at
have
a
to get
meeting.
emails. You got 30 days to get this stuff straight. When we come here this night, it should all be settled. Not the questions always brought up, and I have to get back to you on that, or I'll have to look into that. That shouldn't be the answer. The information should be there so we can all vote yes and pay the bills. Not every month, the same thing happens.
There is an answer to that too. Earlier today, you could say, I have a question, you could have an answer for it. Often what is brought up, it's like missing check numbers and things, that you do get an answer the next month, and it's fine. But if you give a heads up, we could actually get an answer here, but
Well, if you got 30 days, you got 30 days between each meeting to get this stuff straight in that office. If you're in the office, that's the question.
And
I
we
mean,
get
you
this
like to say you're
information
there,
to
you
be
like to say
talked
you're
at
there.
the meeting,
Just get
talked
it
about at the
straight.
meeting in open forum.
Every
I don't
month.
get this information to then turn around and talk about it quietly in closed session in an email. This is public forum, open meetings. This is why we talk about these items that we get in our packet right now.
You
but you
wonder
could
why I
actually
vote
have
no
an
on paying
answer
the
to your
bills?
question at the open meeting and have an answer, that's all.
So my next
Is
question.
that the same thing you did, Bob, with the previous administration when you questioned them
They got the
continually on
answers.
items? And they were expected to have the answer and be prepared to answer them at the meeting? Did you give them the heads up or the notice before
Waiting
time?
for a motion to pay the bills.
Right. Megan
We
has
could watch back some
another
meetings and
concern.
definitely see that.
It's wrong.
Can we hold that discussion, please? What was your other concerns?
Just a couple down from the second payment, there's a Chase Card Services, credit card for $2,888.72. Could we have some details into what this almost $3,000 is for?
Oh, I can bring that to the next meeting.
Did you make these? Do you have the credit card?
I do.
And so, are these your payments?
Are these my payments? Yes.
But you don't remember what you purchased?
I said I will get those to you for the next meeting.
No, we need to approve these now, is what you're
Okay.
asking, and this is $3,000 that you're telling me you don't recall what you charged on the village credit card?
I don't have those receipts in front of me at this time.
President Malzahn or Treasurer Maddox, do either of you know what this charge is for?
I don't approve the invoices for payment, so no, I do not.
So nobody knows what
I believe
the
that part of
village
that.
spent $3,000 on For all we know, she could be sending stuff to her house, Amazoning it there.
Yes, I can bring those receipts to you next week, or next
Every
meeting.
single one of that totals up $2,888.72.
Correct, because we cannot make payment until all the receipts are accounted for.
And who makes that payment?
Our accounts payable person,
And who approves that payment?
me.
So you purchase and you approve.
I'm sorry, am I on trial here?
Is there checks and balance here?
I will give you
Is
that
that how that
information
works?
for the next meeting.
That doesn't seem
I
right.
don't have that information with me at this time.
Megan, to answer your question, yes, Catherine is the holder of the card, but other people utilize that card.
Mhm.
The police department often comes forward when they have to make a purchase and they need the corporate credit card. So they get that, they make the purchase, and then they return the actual card to Catherine once that's done. That same scenario could also happen with our DPW and our wastewater treatment plant
Wastewater.
supervisor. In this instance, I did not see the invoice. I believe part of that was for my capital conference registration, but accounting for the whole $3,000, I'm not able to account for that tonight personally, but I do know that some of those purchases are made on the credit card, not by Catherine.
Okay, but they're
So-
authorized users.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. So is there anything else on the bills that you had a question of? Or need an accounting for?
Thank you for that clarification.
That was not an answer.
I was talking to her.
Was there anything else that you questioned on the bills?
No.
Just those two things? Okay, perfect. Do we have a motion to approve the bills?
Make a motion to approve the bills.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
Support.
Bartholomew, Edwards. Roll call, please.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Poznanski,
No.
Parker,
No.
Fowler,
No.
President Malzahn.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-3.
Okay, so we have the agenda, we have the bills paid. Justin, you had a question on the minutes.
Yeah, consent agenda for last month, I did not vote yes for that either, because I can't get the electronic stuff. I've asked it to be printed, so I will continue to vote no on that until I can get the information given to me.
Now, can we maybe resolve that? It comes in a PDF file. Can you not print a PDF file if you're in business? Does somebody ever send you a PDF for a bid? I mean, we all agreed that it was saving a lot of paper.
I did not agree to that. I was not here. I've asked for it to be printed and included in my board packet. It seems pretty simple, and I've
But
been
it's a
denied.
PDF file.
I've been denied for months. There's nothing stating I need computer access to do this job or this position.
It's true.
So I've asked for it to be printed, and I've been denied by our clerk and president every time.
Okay, so we need to make a correction. That was 6 yeas and 1 nay on the consent agenda. Was there anything else on the regular minutes?
I have something on page 3 for the motion by Poznanski, second by Fowler, to direct the village president to contact the chair of, I'm sorry, it is for the money to go, respectfully request the money for the Ford money to go post-haste. Fowler was a nay on that.
Thank you.
I was a yes to have it voted on, and I did vote no, yes. You're absolutely correct.
I thought that
I
you
did
voted
support,
no.
I did support it, but I did vote no, yes.
Okay,
'Cause we had to come-
I did watch the movie, maybe you didn't intend
No.
to say no.
No, I intend to say no, yes,
You did intend to say no?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that was.
Okay. Then a motion to approve the regular meeting agendas, the regular meeting minutes with the 2 corrections to the consent agenda and item unfinished C. Okay, we have a motion by Hart,
Support.
support by Bartholomew. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. So that motion carries. And then we're going to talk about the closed session minutes under new business, right at the end. Beside JK, that. Okay.
Closed session, L.
All right, let's move on. Special presentations. We have Elizabeth Miller here, our DDA Executive Director, going to give us an update on parking.
Well, let me lighten up the mood a little bit by talking about parking. Hi, good evening, everyone. I only have a couple of things. I'm actually going to, when I'm done saying a couple things about it, I'll just pass it around so you all can get a quick look at it. But nothing's been finalized yet, so I didn't want to make copies and have things distributed that may or may not be accurate within a short period of time. So thank you for having me on the agenda tonight. As you are aware, parking study was done recently. I'm pretty sure if parking comes out of my mouth one more time, people are going to be like, just get on with it. The DDA board decided to do a phase one internally, and so we have a committee working on that, and I'm grateful to the board members for doing that. We've done some research, and we are modeling it after Lake Orion's, the way that they've done their DDA district, and so I'll pass that around. This is their map. And if you notice the yellow highlighted, this is where they have shared lots, and what the shared lots mean. How many of you have been to Lake Orion recently? Anybody? Anybody? Okay. They've got really great signage in their village, and I'm working with their DDA director, and they have a great partnership with their village board of trustees and their DPW and everything, and we're looking at some sort of a shared agreement in that as well additionally, but that's outside of the parking conversation. But if you see the yellow highlighted, you'll see where it says S1, 2, 3, 4. Those are shared lots. Pass that to you, Zach. You just take a quick look and pass that around. What those shared lots are is they're shared leases with property owners. So when so for example, one of the spaces is a doctor's office, and they don't care if people park there, even in the middle of the day. So the signage is the same with the village-owned spaces and the spaces that are actually privately owned, but the signage is slightly different to indicate what hours people can park there additionally. So it's a low-cost way to add extra public parking with signage, because as you know, back when I was a lot younger, got my car towed in DC, and that's no fun. So following the signage, people come into town and they expect to see the signage, and we are lacking that quite badly in the village. One of the other things we're looking at doing is having wayfinding signage, so actual signs up that say. That's another good thing that they've done in Lake Orion. We will work on new signage for our current lots, new signage on Main Street and side streets with 2-hour limits, spaces for 15-minute spots for quick pickup and carry out, which I know some of our businesses downtown will appreciate that when we work on that. I'm going to pass this one around. You'll notice the north arrow right up here, and I'll pass this around. So the pink Post-it notes, those parts are that's where I've communicated with business owners already that are interested in doing this partnership. So there's legal language and that type of thing, working with the village president on figuring out some of the liability coverage and stuff like that associated with that. The yellow sticky notes is where that's already village-owned property. Now, I understand that there's a couple in there that technically isn't village-owned lots, and that will be addressed. And then the bright yellow highlighter that's on here, that is all public parking, so either on 32 Mile or on Rawls, and so that also does not have signage, so we'll work on that as well. So I'll pass that down so you can take a quick look at that. So we will be working and needing to design and plan to implement it, and we'll be looking at costs to present hopefully when you all start doing your budget talks, because there will be some cost sharing obviously that needs to be done with this. I know that on the Washington Township agenda last Wednesday, I saw just a smidge of it later on. They talked about they're doing the same thing. So I'm in communication with their administration to try to find out how do they do that. I like to get things done quickly. This one isn't one of them. Unfortunately, it's going to take a little bit more time. But we've made a lot of progress in a real short period of time, and but now comes kind of the longer parts. The businesses were surprised by a plan like this, and I said, go visit Lake Orion. I think 3 of the businesses have already done so. So do you have any questions?
I don't have a question, but just to add to your discussion, because we're talking about all areas, which would include Van Dyke. There's obviously no parking on St. Clair, but on Van Dyke. So I reached out at Elizabeth's request to the Road Commission just to verify signage. And unfortunately, there is a lot of other partners that we have to get clearance from. Michigan State Police being one of them. They have a whole set of guidelines that the signage has to conform to. So we're working with that. And also one of the areas that we needed to look at, and we're going to, is handicap parking. if we're going to use the private spaces, does that change the amount of handicap parking that we need to overall have available? So one of the things that we just mentioned in our think tanking. So I appreciate her taking the lead on this. And yes, it's slow pace of government, but we can come up with a solution together. I know we can, and
We will.
I'm excited to do that.
Now, I don't have a question either, but a comment, talking to a lot of the business owners, they've mentioned that you've come in, they met you, and they're really happy about it. They're excited about what's gonna happen, and, so, good positive.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Not so excited sometimes when I'm like, please move your car somewhere so customers can park there, but most people have been very receptive to that, and they understand, and they've been working with their employees to get them to park a little further out to free up the spaces. You know, one of the things I say is we actually don't have a parking problem in Romeo, we have a communication problem, so we're working on that, so.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
And just another note for parking, on Rawls, South Rawls, I don't know, I think at one time they were talking about that, but it was EMS used to be parked over there, might have been an emergency route, but we were walking down there and we are thinking there could maybe be parking on the 2 blocks there. You know, it's not allowed right now, but.
On Rawls?
Yes.
We have parking on
South
Rawls.
South Rawls.
South Rawls.
Oh, yes, okay. Yeah, there's one little strip that there is, but, well, that would be wonderful.
The financial parking lot is on the street there.
Yeah.
And the block before that would be 2 blocks. I don't know, you might get.
Oh, you're saying because the fire department used to be there?
They used to be there, and I think later, even when the fire department wasn't, EMS was using that building, but it's been a couple of years that's not the case. That may
Okay.
still be a main road they want, I don't know, but
Okay.
it bears the question.
Christine, can you help me figure that one out?
Yeah, we can have a conversation with our chief of police and our
Okay.
fire chief and ask if that is an option to have it reinstated there.
Okay,
I don't know if that's an emergency route.
Road right now because it's a narrow road.
Okay, so it may not be an option.
If you park on one side of the road, it's gonna be a.
On South Rawls?
Okay.
Well, Mr. Hart, way to get me excited about 7 more parking spots and then just take it right back away from me, but no, it's all right. No, that's a great question, but, any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time, and hopefully the next time I talk to you about parking, we'll have a better plan in mind. So don't be scared when you see something in your budget for parking, so, thank you. You want me to grab my?
Yeah, I'm done.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Moving on quickly to correspondence. In your packets, we did receive a DDA thank you letter. Hopefully you've all read that. It was great that the DDA with Elizabeth Miller put on Winterfest, and it was just thanking all of the supporters and sponsors. So it was nice to get that acknowledgement. So you are welcome. Okay, public comment at this time on our agenda. Is there anybody who, yes, give us your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Kathy Osbold. The address is 218 North Main Street. I own Michigan Juntiques and now own the building right there, just newly with that. So the reason why I'm here, though, is the village to consider possibly temporary closing the alley that runs right alongside the building. I've been talking with Elizabeth, and we're looking at maybe possibly like a community area, just temporarily, maybe during the spring and summer, just kind of a pilot program to do something that kind of, maybe if it's just picnic tables or things like that for the community to kind of gather with. It obviously would help and be very beneficial to the different restaurants that are in the area that have takeout. They could sit there, the community get together. It's something that I've been thinking about. I've talked, Elizabeth kind of brought that idea back into my head, and I would like to be a part of that, helping with that. I just recently saw a presentation by the Michigan EDC last Thursday night talking about outdoor spaces and having these community spaces and how important they are to a community. So I thought that would be a great time to do it. I am concerned about the safety there. The people come pretty quickly, they turn in there, and I'm afraid that one day I'm just going to see a front of a car in my front window with that. So I thought maybe if we did a pilot program, I could work with the DDA on that and help with that, and just ask for your consideration.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Elizabeth did come into my office today and mentioned that you were going to be here tonight to speak about that, and I reminded her that perhaps we could revisit the Taylor Taylor, I think was that who we were going to name it after. With the DDA had a lot of art students actually design what that pocket park area would look like. We talked about putting an American flag there because there really isn't a park in our downtown that has a flag that people can come. A great spot for people coming off the trailhead,
Yeah.
as you said, as well as a safety issue with that one-way street. It is a little bit janky, so I'm great to hear that you're willing to sort of entertain that, and I hope the DDA will look at those plans and bring back a formal proposal for us.
Okay, that's
do
great.
that.
And also, too, there is electric on that side, so the party lights could go across to the poles. That's also something that we could.
It would be a
would
very
for the
inviting
evening.
spot, right in our central business district, and I think that was another one of Elizabeth's projects that she mentioned, a pocket park,
Yes.
right, that other municipalities have when they have a weird space that's in our downtown and not that you normally think of as a park area, but I know that alleyway is utilized during a lot of our events,
Yes.
especially for, vendors to set up there. It would be great if we could tie in a farmer's market. I mean, there's so many
Exactly.
things that you could do utilizing that space. And so I'm
Yeah.
glad that you are bringing that forward.
Yes.
Can I just ask for clarification? Are you saying you would turn the whole L, essentially, the alley
alley.
and your parking spaces?
just the
or
alley.
just the, okay.
Yeah. Just the
Okay,
alley.
first
So
I was like, you want
the
to
length of
you want to
the-
get rid of park it? Like what? Okay, I got you.
No.
Just the alley.
That's
Just the
another
alley.
whole subject apparently, so yeah, with that, but yes, but thank you for your consideration.
Could you clarify where, are we talking in between the gas station
And the building,
and the building? So just for the length of the building?
Yes.
Basically?
yes. And then also too, Elizabeth approached me about possibly, the area that used to have shrubs there is now just barren, and maybe possibly putting some sort of edibles there. And I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool if I went across and talked to the people that own the Main Street Pub, and he's a chef, so they could do like a whole farm-to-table thing if they wanted. I'd be more than happy to lend them that space if they wanted to actually grow products, maybe even if it was just herbs. And start with that and maybe kind of really start something and
Great
go
ideas.
with that.
Yeah, absolutely great ideas.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right,
Talk to
well,
Kristen.
thank you for your consideration.
Absolutely.
Elizabeth, have you talked to Uptown about
That's
this at all?
exactly what I was wondering.
Hello? Pardon?
Have you talked to Uptown about this at all? Because I don't know how much of their business traffic.
Yeah, no, not yet, because this is something that, since Kathy is the new owner of that building, so it was really important for her to come in and talk to you all about this. There's if anybody wanted to look up sustainhudson.org, I was in Hudson, Wisconsin last fall, and they have this organization. They have certain types of edibles, not the kind y'all are thinking about, but it's edible vegetation of the kind you don't need a license for or anything like that. So, but what they do is just encourage edible landscaping throughout the whole downtown. So that's actually part of one of the things that we're going to be working on for our spring, bringing things out for the summer, maybe changing the way we do our baskets next year to have some edible landscaping in it. You know, there's so many things, and as those of you who know me, I'm a gardener, so that's a fun way to do that. And when I approached Kathy to say, hey, would you like to be the pilot garden on the side? She's like, that would be great. What about closing the alley? I said, let's do it, but we have to ask permission first. So,
Town would smell totally different if we had lemongrass and spearmint and all
Yeah.
those sorts of things growing in some of those pots.
yeah,
so.
and we have Pam Getter, who's the serve coordinator for the high school. She has a student who recently, it's this whole synchronicity thing, right? She had a student that came to her and said, I want to revive the environmental club. And do you have a project they could work on? I'm like, do I have a project you could work on?
Right.
So yeah, it's been really fun working with Kathy, and she's really helping drive a lot of the businesses downtown to increase their marketing and really get themselves out there. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Congratulations
I
on your
would just
building
talk
purchase.
to the people in Uptown, because, again, I don't know how much of their business comes through that alley.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do great
You
community.
gotta make everybody happy, so.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I didn't check if we're gonna be talking master plan there, but the master plan supported closing those alleys, because then there's
Great.
less on and off traffic and interruption
Did
on
it?
walking.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
Did it?
Yes.
Again,
it
thank
did
you.
that when we were
All right,
looking at
thank you.
closing.
Anybody else for public comment? We have room full, so there must be people who want to speak.
All right, I'll go. Hold on. Good evening, my name is Shelley Rosso, I'm a village resident.
came to speak about one particular issue, but I want to touch base on the topic of the bills that go on. I'm not here at every meeting, but I generally have a good idea of what the trustees are going to ask about. They're kind of similar questions. So I would ask you, clerk, to just be prepared for that so that us as village residents can know as well. It's not hard, but I appreciate the trustees and the hard work that you do, and I just ask that you continue to not approve bills that can't be spoken for. I know not every nitty-gritty detail, but when you have a credit card that multiple people can use, that seems like something you might want to keep an eye on. So just a thought, be conscientious with our funds, approve it if you know what it is, and I'm sure you could probably figure out what kind of information to bring next time, because their questions are pretty standard. But also what I came to speak about specifically was the concept of having appointed treasurers and clerks versus elected. And there are pros and cons in many different ways for both positions. Ultimately, we are a democracy. We are for the people, by the people, of the people, and that leads to voting. However, I do also recognize that when people vote, they don't always know who the best candidate is or what their qualifications are. They get in there and they see, oh, this person had a lot of signs, I recognize their name or whatever. As a village resident, my opinion would be that the treasurer especially probably should have some type of qualification to be a treasurer, and whether they're voted or appointed, I don't think necessarily has as much impact as, it wouldn't concern me either way as much, but I do think they need to have some type of qualification and some kind of clearance and checking and background and all of that good stuff, because you are dealing with public funds. But when it comes to the clerk, that is our first face we see in the village. When people move in, when they're new, when they come in the door, that person needs to represent our community, be part of our community. And I have really strongly would appreciate the consideration of keeping that person elected. When you appoint, you could appoint from anywhere. You don't have to live within the village to be appointed. I mean, you don't even have to live within the village now, to be the president. But consider please that when you're thinking of the village clerk, they are a person of our village, for our village, and it would be really nice if the people maintain their voice as to who they want serving them and representing them within the village. Thank you.
Good evening, folks. My name is Tom Stevens. Used to be back in the day, we used to have to tell what our address was. Do you still do that?
You still do.
No. Anyway, I'm here to touch on the subject of this, and I was a little confused and surprised by the activity of not kind of condoning looking for professionals to fill certain positions that require certain things, be it accounting, be it bookkeeping, be it administration. For God's sakes knows I wouldn't qualify because I've only got an associate's degree. So, but I look at the village as a whole. For those of you who know me or don't know me, I was a trustee for, I don't know, 3-4 years, several years ago. Planning Commission currently. So I've been pretty active in the community for a long, long time. But the way I see it, again, with certain positions, it's important to have certain skills, accounting, things of that nature in certain positions. And I think to rely strictly on the vote, unless somebody is vetted completely, you really should think about that. Looking at the village again as a whole, we have an attorney here who I've known for years, consider a friend, and he's a highly skilled professional in what he does. That's one site. Christine owns her own business. officer over here. I'm sorry, officer. I know I should know your name, but I don't. But I'm certain he went to Michigan State. No, got his. It doesn't matter. He's a trained professional. Even our DPW director, Tim. I'm certain Tim has certain degrees of skills that fit his position and are very important. So I just ask everybody to kind of think about the election process is sacred, but there's also ways to hire people that are going to be more of an asset to the community. And this is no disrespect to anybody on this board. I've been where you are. I'm, like I said, a planning commission meeting now, or member now, and feel very strong about this town. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
Appreciate your insight.
Hi, my name is Sandy Han. I've lived in the village since 1988. And the reason I came out now, I don't think it's an agenda item, but I wanted to speak about appointing officials to the positions of Romeo. I'm pretty strongly against it. We're a small village. As a resident for many, many years, because of the loss of a newspaper, difficulty getting information. Myself and a lot of people I've talked to, we don't feel we have a voice in a lot of things. And that's the one thing we do have a voice in, is to be able to vote for an official. So I thought I would come today and have you strongly consider, you know, what you're going to do as far as elected positions versus appointed. It doesn't always work in a lot of places that I've seen, so I am just saying that I am very strongly in favor of still having elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm short.
It's okay.
Ruth Heiderbrecht, 354 Salem Drive, Romeo. I am a village resident and I'm also a business owner in Romeo. And although I have two subjects tonight, I wasn't able to be at the meeting last month, and the subject of the parks, the Friends of the Parks came up, and I was able to get on the phone. We have a committee that was formed months ago and is working hard on the parks. In fact, we're going to be working with Elizabeth on the parking that is going to go around the park. But my concern was at the end of the meeting, at the end of the, end of the discussion, Megan, you stated, even though there was a decision by the board to not continue to communicate with Ford Motor, that you were upset because you wanted that money to come to the village, and I completely understand that. But that's your feelings, and that should be dealt with within the board, not outside to Ford Motor Company. It gives a bad feeling of when you deal with that large of a company, it makes us look really small and petty. And that doesn't represent the committee or the Friends of the Park that are working very hard to do an amazing project. So if we are going to continue this, I would appreciate it if we had some notice so we could deal with it before you ever bring it outside of this community, especially when we are in the process of becoming a 501c3. We are in the process of bringing amazing designs to the park and to our community. So I would appreciate it if there was ever any other questions that they be brought up within here and not communicated to an outside organization that could possibly give us more money for our village. So that's subject number one. Subject number two goes along with what you brought up tonight, which was the MIT TV payments. And you did pick up on that. sometimes the payments are late. And that leads me into my next opinion as a resident and a business owner, is I am in favor of those two positions being positions of people who have talent, who have accounting ability, and that have an education. Because I had an incident in the last administration where the clerk decided not to pay the MIT for 5 months. And we went 5 months without being paid. And because we serve the community, I'm not just talking to you, sorry. And because we serve the community, and I had no one to go to because they were elected officials. I had the same problem with our treasurer in this round, where it was rectified, but the treasurer wouldn't sign the checks because she was from the last administration, and she didn't want to pay the MIT the 5 months. So again, I didn't have anybody to go to. I would much rather go to a board and say, listen, here's the issue with this person. Who do I have to go to? The public? My only recourse is recall or lawsuit. And I don't want to sue my own community. So that's my personal aspect of why I believe that these are important positions and that they should be answering to you guys, not to us. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment?
I do have something.
Yes.
Oh.
My name is Don Edwards. I live at 150 First Street, Romeo. And as someone else did tonight, I first want to thank all of you trustees for the time that you put into this job. And I apologize also for my absence from these meetings, because as a resident, and if I care about how this village operates and the results, I should be at these meetings. I should hear what you have to say and be more knowledgeable. But I haven't been. But I am aware of what the plans are tonight to vote on a possibility of having these positions appointed rather than elected. The only thing I have to say about that is in the last 42 years that I've been here, it's worked very well the way it has been done. There may be some hiccups, as there would be in any business that has multiple transactions. But I see my position right now is if it's not broken, there's no need to fix it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment? Going once, going twice. All right, I'm going to close the public comment section. Thank you very much. Move on to our officer reports. My president's report for March of 2022. Coffee and Conversation was held at the Romeo Senior Center on March 14th. I want to thank all the seniors who reached out to me with their concerns for the current Parks and Rec situation. The question that I received the most was a simple why. Why is Washington Township creating all of this upheaval, and can it result in disruptions to the services our seniors so desperately need? I truly wished that I had an answer to the question of why. I wish that I was able to offer them the reassurances they are now seeking, that they will still be able to come to the Romeo campus for their meals and for the socialization that is vitally important to their well-being. Because we know that if funding is cut or deferred from our current Parks and Rec, it will impact them. Please know that I am doing everything that I can, personally and legally, under the advisement of our attorney, Mark Clark, to ensure that our seniors and youth are protected while preserving the programming and services you rely on. Second, I attended the Michigan Municipal League's Capital Conference in Lansing on March 15th and 16th. The theme for the two-day event was Partnerships and Policy, and it emphasized fueling community revival. There were many breakout sessions to choose from and several general sessions that covered legislative updates focused on municipal interests. In particular, I attended the My Waters Navigator workshop on Tuesday morning. This session was specific to the new MML help desk for communities who are now required to become lead and copper service line compliant. Romeo has been identified that has certain households with existing lead service lines that will need to be replaced under Eagle's new requirements. I'll be working with the My Water Help Desk team and our engineering firm to create an asset management implementation and funding plan. I also attended the Michigan Women in Municipal Government Luncheon, which included a panel discussion focusing on training and networking opportunities for women like myself in leadership positions. I was able to meet personally with State Senator Doug Wozniak to discuss state-level decisions that affect us here in Romeo, like our constitutional revenue sharing and the short-term rental legislation. This was a great opportunity for one-on-one FaceTime with the Woz, and he assured me he is fighting for us on the Senate floor. Number 3, I'd like to offer congratulations on behalf of the Village of Romeo to Bruce Township firefighter and EMT Eileen Rhodes for her 41 years of service. She was formally recognized with a beautiful engraved plaque at the Bruce Township meeting on March 16th. We thank you, Eileen, for your excellent service to this community and look forward to many more years with you on the job. The RWB Parks and Recreation is hosting an Easter egg hunt. Please join them on Tuesday, April 12th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Romeo High School Barnabo Field, located at 62300 Jewel Road in Washington Township. Apparently, there's been some social media misinformation claiming that this event was canceled, but that is not true. It will be held as scheduled on April 12th. I hope you can all join us there. Please plan to attend the roads and other important topic discussion at the special town hall meeting on Wednesday, March 30th at 6:30 in the South Meeting Room. If you are unable to attend in person, the MIT TV will be live streaming the meeting on Facebook, and it will be available on Roku and Vimeo once the meeting is uploaded. Due to room size capacity, I'll be arranging the room to fit as many attendees as possible, and the Silver Meeting Room in the adjacent building next door will be set up with a video monitor for overflow crowd, so you can all have a chair. The meeting includes a formal road capital asset proposal and discussion on funding options for much needed repairs. Also on the agenda will be a utility rate study update, discussion and planning for our fiscal year 22 and 23 goals and objectives, and a chance for public Q&A. If you have any specific questions you want addressed at the meeting, please submit them to my email, president@villageofromeo.org, before next Monday. I'll do my best so that I can come prepared with the information that you are seeking. Everybody should have received one of these little Every Door direct mail pieces inviting you to attend, so I hope we're going to get a big crowd. As always, I continue to hold regular office hours to meet with our property and business owners to address their concerns. If you have a concern, compliment, or complaint that you need assistance with, please call my office, 586-752-3565. I'm at extension 3. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Christine, do you have any update on the Lions Field parking lot situation? A couple months ago, you asked us to direct you to meet.
I have not heard any confirmation from the Lions president to a meeting. He notified me after that and said that he would be sending a meeting invite, and I have not received one yet. So, no, I don't have any information on what their project stands. Clerk Tripp?
I had the fun opportunity to volunteer at the DDA's Winterfest in February. It was nice to see the town so busy on that cold day. Good job to Elizabeth Miller and the DDA for a great event. Was able to attend a facility tour of L&L Products on March 8th. Was fascinating to see how big and global their operation is in this facility that is located in our industrial district. Last week was my final week attending Clerks Institute through the Michigan Municipal Clerks Association. There were a lot of great speakers covering topics such as finance, parliamentary procedure, human resources, and a special course for just villages, and even an FBI agent came to discuss ethics as a community leader. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Treasurer Maddox?
Passed out handouts, and this was not enclosed in the board packets for last week. So if I could just have a clarification to what if I'm going to be given a treasurer's report, is there any contents that cannot be enclosed in with the board packet that I could just have a better understanding so that there's no misunderstanding in the future? Mark, if you could, from a professional, make a stance in that regards, as long as I give the information to be copied to be put in the board packet on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Can I assume that this contents is going to be put in the board packet when they're distributed out on Thursday?
Well, I don't have control over the dissemination of the information. If you submit it in a timely manner, it would be up to whoever prepares the packets and distributes those. I don't have the day-to-day managerial control over the information flow. Certainly, whatever lawful information you have, whatever your obligations are under the General Law Village Act, you should fulfill those, as I believe you do, and how you disseminate the information, I think, would be an administrative matter among the office staff.
Okay. So if we can just, so that there's not misunderstanding on my part, if I could just, from an announcement standpoint, what is the deadline from the day that it needs to get to the clerk's desk to get put in the board packet?
Tuesday,
Tuesday. At
Tuesday.
what time on Tuesday?
4 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, and
Just-
that's why I apologize for not this packet being put in the board packet, because it does go back to the last meeting, as underneath my treasurer's report, where I had sent out an email to the trustees regarding the Benzinski and Company financial advisors who prepare our continuing information statement.
Just to clarify your point, I'm sorry to interrupt you and to go back. The date and time that Catherine is referencing would be for agenda items. That's the date, that's the time for agenda items to be enclosed in the packet. Right now, our rules of procedure doesn't require any of the official reports to be submitted in writing for inclusion in the packet. But that's probably a great suggestion that we can look at, of asking everybody to submit their report in writing to be included in the packet.
Okay.
So I can certainly address the rules of procedure and bring that back for an update. So, sorry, I just wanted to clarify
And
so that
so
you...
what I tried to do to the best of my ability is to summarize all the detail in the packet, and I did pass packets out to the residents, so please feel free at any moment in time at your leisure throughout this week to read over the information. If you have any questions to it, please contact me in the office. So basically, it goes back to the last meeting in February, where I had answered Megan's question pertaining to the late filing of the audit. And so basically, I did receive a communication from Robert Benzinski dated Thursday, February 24th. And I don't know if you want me to go ahead and read this whole detail, if you feel that that would be important for the residents to know. I know most of the residents have a packet of the information. But basically, I'm going to summarize it to the best of my ability. Martha indicated that you wish to address the late filing of the village audit report. And this pertains to the 2013 bonds, where we pledged to the bondholders through the SEC that if the village fails to file within 6 months their audit, which is, the deadline is 12/31/21, and then Catherine indicated that she received an email, but I'm going to table that for now. And it basically goes down to where it states that, and we are discussing about going out for bonding, and this allows any investor that may be considered purchasing the outstanding bonds that we have available or any in the future. And if the dealer wants to bid on our future bonds and they see that the village has a history of filing not in a timely manner, they can not bid on our bonds. If this happens once, it's a strike, but if it has on future issues, the pattern continues, the village is not going to have access to capital markets in the future. And so I did my best to summarize that, and before I go into any further detail, does you as board have any questions regarding this letter? So I received that on February 24th. And then as you can see, I tried to do it in the best of from an audit standpoint of everything that I transact or anyone does is all dated and time-stamped. So on January 3rd, 2022 at 9:24, Bedzinski and Company, who we hire, filed the audit. But again, the audit needed to be filed by 12/31. The next document, as you can see, on 12/31/2021, that was done at 5:19, and that's where it was indicated that failure to provide annual financial information in the timely manner. And basically what they did is they just prepared a draft, so they technically didn't file until the following calendar year, as I indicated, January 3rd, 2022. And then just for history, I thought, okay, I'm going to go back into all my emails. I'm going to see what we did the year before, because this question came up with this email that I attached to the board, legitimate, where'd it come from, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the reason why that one document that was attached, which is the material event document, was our first year that we've not filed on time, so we wouldn't have had it in previous years. So going back to 2023, 2020, 9/55, we filed the annual statement. 12/27/19 at 2:22, and then it goes back to the original email from Bedzinski and Company dated June 12th, 2019, asking us to sign the contract for the next 5 years. Then in July 15th, a month later, high importance that we had not executed the contract to renew with Bedzinski. So basically what I'm trying to do is just summarize everything that I do throughout the calendar year is all on a deadline and time restraints. I have to balance the utility bills within time. I have to balance the taxes within time. And so for the whole calendar year, everything on my end was filed and completed on time. And then to have the audit not filed timely, so I thought, I'm going to go back into my emails from the audit and kind of trail back to see how this all became as a delay and not filing on time. And it goes back to, really, I'm going to pertain to the date where really the most activity, in my sense of urgency with filing things on time, was the most intense day, which was Tuesday, December 28, 2021. And it was a reach out from Bedzinski stating, does our auditors know the reason why we need to have these tax returns? Does the audit filed within time? So there was communication. I did high importance to Christine, to Catherine, to Tim, our accountant. There were several emails going back between the accountants, Tim, myself, our accountants, Bedzinski, and I don't see any communication or response from the clerk or from the president addressing that these the financial statements weren't going to be filed within time restraints. And so I just wanted to recap, just to make the residents who's approached me out in the community and to stand up here and defend myself, because I did everything that I needed to do and to get my things filed within time. And all my audit information had been turned into the auditors back in November of 2019. So I am open for questions. I just wanted to give Megan, you mainly clarification on that.
I have a question. Okay, so then the email that we got from our auditors stating that due to the way the holiday calendar fell, per the state of Michigan, January 3rd was the new official deadline. So then how would we be late if we did file according to the state on time? Also, and to piggyback that, I have a letter from the state of Michigan Department of Treasury, which I would assume you would have received as a treasurer, stating how the calendar dates fall due to holidays being a due date for such important materials, and how the due date was January 3rd statewide.
Okay, well, again, I spoke to my contacts at Benzinski, and they have to stick by the 12/31 deadline because of the SEC. So I just wanted to provide you all with the details from the timeline standpoint, and just say that it was out of my control, as I had provided all the details within time.
Catherine, have you presented that information to Budzinski?
Yes, I did.
And what did they say they would budget on? What did they say?
I'm sorry, I apologize. I should have printed out that email. I apologize for not bringing that when I did reach out to Benzinski and the auditors, and I CC'd her on that, stating that there was concern about that. I apologize, I don't have that email in front of me.
Because it would seem if you could prove it, that they would have to
Correct, right.
work with us and take this strike away, I would think.
Right.
Let me go back and just recap this email that we received from Joe Verlin after last month's meeting when I asked Catherine to address the auditor. And so his response was, the Michigan Department of Treasury's due date for submissions was January 3rd, 2020 due to the timing of the holiday. Treasury was not open on December 30th or the 31st. The village's audit report was submitted timely. The village was also granted qualified status, which means that the village, among other compliance requirements, was timely in its submission of the audit, and that the audit was free of findings and had a clean opinion. Please let me know if there's anything further to clarify. And then just to go a little bit further, there was a communication February 24th from Robert Benzinski to Treasurer Maddox talking about the audit. If they, in the middle of the email, it says, if this was to happen only once, we believe it will not have an effect on future issues. However, if the pattern continues, it could potentially be problematic. So we did mention that to the auditors. They said that they would want to see the writing for when those bonds were issued. If the issuance did reference a specific date, they would want to obviously make mention of that. If it did say the 31st, or if it just said the filing of a timely audit report per the state of Michigan's requirements. So there is a little bit of clarification that needs to happen, but the audit was filed in a timely manner per the state's guidelines on the 3rd.
The first email you said you received, what was the date on that?
The first email that I said I received.
The one that said we were within time on the January 3rd?
This was an email from Monday, February 28th.
It's the same one I have.
After the last month's meeting, when the issue
Did you forward
arose.
that to the treasurer? So
Yes.
that she was aware of that?
Yes.
That is the email that I summarized.
Okay, thank you.
That I reached out for explanation on.
So I have a question. Some of the stuff, like the question that you initially asked Catherine, I mean, you guys work at the same offices, correct? I was asking her. So I guess my question is why couldn't you just walk over to her office and say, hey, you know what, I got a quick question about something? It just seems to me that you're using this time to like create or show like a gotcha moment. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you have a right to your opinion, Nathan.
Okay, so you
But
can't
that
walk
is
over and
not-
talk to her in
that
the
is-
office?
No,
about things?
I was asked a question at the last meeting, and I'm providing documentation.
Yeah, I don't work in the office, us trustees don't, so she was answering the question that was asked at last month.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, trustee reports. Anything, Zach? Anything, Justin? Anything, Mr. Hart?
Oh, I attended the meeting, and I think we have a presentation
You do?
tonight, so
Yep.
we'll know anything from David.
Mr. Edwards?
I just want to say congratulations to the DDA and Elizabeth Miller for putting on the Winterfest, and it's a great success. Thank you.
I do have a few things. Just a couple. Taking a planning and zoning class right now to get to that, get all my credits done that I need to do. I had also attended the coffee and conversation. That was a nice time. I had brought my 3-year-old with me, and all the residents enjoyed spending time with him there. And then the Parks and Rec meeting last week with just the Parks and Rec and the lawyer there. So representing the Village of Romeo, President Malzahn was at her conference, so she asked if I would attend that. So I attended that for us. And then I did want to touch on the Friends of the Village Park that was brought up. Hold on, let me open my phone. Okay, so at that meeting where Ruth called in and spoke with us, at about the same time, she said, well, hi Ruth, was wondering what printing company you used for the newest edition of the Mint magazine. No, that's my text message to Ruth that she never answered. The one I'm trying to read is, I would like to talk, this is from Ruth to me, while we're still in the meeting. I would like to talk to you in person or on the phone prior to you placing a call to either of the Ford Motor Company's liaisons, as I believe I heard you say after being asked by the president of your board not to, which she did not state that. My lawyer will be contacting you this week, which he did not, or she, whichever they are. My father's been put in the hospital, or I would be there to address this. If you have any intention of going to Ford Motor Company and speaking as a board of trustee representing the Village of Romeo, I would highly recommend that you speak to me or the nonprofit lawyer before you make that move. I will expect your call and take it out in the hallway. That is the text message that I received from our contractor. And I would say, I respectfully decline to obey your orders, ma'am. As I sit here as a trustee and serve my village, I will inquire upon things that concern my village residents. So when I called Miss Fries, and it is Fries, it's not Freeze, it's just like a French fry, that's what she said. So when I called Miss Fries this week to inquire, first of all, my first question was, so the board talked at the last meeting, and it was not unanimous, but it was passed to send you a letter from the president of the village on behalf of the board. Did you receive this letter? She did not, as they are still not working in the office. So the letter did not get to her. So I took it upon she asked me, could you email that to me? Absolutely. So I took the letter and I emailed it to her. So she is in possession of that letter now. And I would have thought somebody else would have followed up with that, especially if I'm being told not to contact them. I would think, well, somebody else is responsible for it. They would have contacted her, but I suppose not. And she did thank me for keeping her up to date on how everything is going, and we had a nice conversation. That's my report. No.
You're addressing me.
This is
All I'm
trustee.
asking
No,
you
ma'am.
is
This
what
is
letter are you
trustee
talking
report.
about?
Please.
What
Point of
letter are
order.
you talking about?
Point of order.
I need you to be clear on the letter that you're talking about, because to my
This is not public
understanding.
comments, Ruth, I'm sorry.
She's referring to the letter that I drafted that was in the board packets that the board authorized me to
I have called
to
point of
distribute
order.
to them.
Okay.
Yes.
And I've just been accused of threatening you, and that's crazy. I
Right.
simply asked you to call me and talk to me. Now, that's ridiculous.
All right.
I've asked you to call me and talk to me
This-
before you
oh,
would
how's
ever
this being
talk.
held right now?
We'll refocus. Right, we'll refocus. Thank you. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee Bartholomew?
I would love to talk about sidewalks. Did reach out to our contractor, Raps Concrete. We did last year we've got the approval or the go-ahead from the church and the funeral home. I know Henry asks me every time he sees me. He wants to get going. Anyways, so that's underway. We're just waiting for them to get started, weather-wise, and we'll keep you informed as to. But I would like to get that stretch up there done as soon as possible.
I did inquire with HRC. They are sending that to me. I hope to get it by Friday.
Okay.
And then I have a meeting scheduled with Dr. Todd Robinson at the school to take that to the school board, or at least for their building department for hopefully a cost sharing consideration. So I'm waiting on HRC to get me that, as well as the parking lot
I
bid
just seen some
package.
kids walking through that field the other day, and
Yes.
I'm like, hold on.
I know, it needs to be done sooner
Hey
rather
Nathan,
than
I
later.
have one of your sidewalks that, on 315 Dickinson, that was just completed. Ones that tried to charge me for, it's already cracked. The contractor in the back has been driving heavy trucks over it, so it's already cracked the sidewalk for you, so you might want to reapproach it. It's
Rogers?
Huh?
Rogers property
Yes.
there, his entrance?
He's been driving heavy trucks over
Okay.
it, and she's cracked.
All right, anything from the planning commission?
Yeah, we
Can I
don't
ask
destroy it.
about sidewalks real quick? Just so everyone knows and we can get it out there again, what quadrants or what streets are we looking at doing this year?
Well, we finished Dickinson, 32 Mile Road, we want to get that at the top, but we'd also like to get it all the way down from the high school on both sides to town.
Okay.
Because the kids are walking. Middle school. Every day.
Middle school.
Middle school. Show my age.
We know what you mean.
And from there, we're not sure, we do want to get the main streets done, South Main, all the main streets, and then we're going to keep working on just going from quadrant to quadrant. to keep
I have
it
a
fair.
list, I have a list of people
Right.
who have been contacting me that I've been maintaining, and so I'll get that to you, and yes,
Yep.
we'll figure out a plan to get them marked. Okay. Anything from the planning commission?
Yeah, all the applicants were approved for the special land use, for the weed applications. Mr. Casson had reviewed them, and they were all in compliance. All the applications were notarized. The i's were dotted, t's were crossed, as opposed to some of the applications that we had received and that were approved, so. Everything else was correct, right?
Okay.
Zach, you said some stuff was not correct?
Yeah, the last part I said, as far as some of the other applications that we had approved. There were a couple of applications during the first process that were not notarized correctly.
I don't
They
think
weren't notarized at all.
they
The
didn't
stamp
require
was there.
notarization. They were all time stamped.
They,
Did that come before the planning commission?
it was approved by your panel. I have copies of them right here, to where you see there is no notary date and time right here on the applications. And on these two applications too, they were like Xeroxed. So they're identical, the signatures are in an identical spot. You can see that for yourself, hold it up to the light. And it looks like there was some whiteout use on one of the applications too. I don't know, it's something that I think Mr. Clark, as I mentioned last meeting, some of these applicants have been contacting me and referred them. I talked to you about it, and you said refer them, and you got plenty of FOIA requests. So I think that
Was this document that you're referencing here part of a FOIA request, a FOIA submission?
this document here was just, no, I don't know whether it's FOIA or not. I'm not sure what you
I mean,
guys.
where
I
did you
don't-
get that document
This is part
from?
of my planning commission documentation.
So that was in your planning commission packet?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I
what
just was
so what
looking
I
for
reviewed on my
clarification.
planning commission packet, and what we all reviewed is, our policy here is to make sure all the i's are dotted, t's are crossed. An incomplete application is supposed to be rejected. Well, this application was approved without being complete. And your reviewing committee actually reviewed it, and it was passed, so. And that's all I said was like some of the applications that we had looked at that were approved. Other than that, the other ones were, everything was done on. I'll give this to you because you're probably gonna end up dealing with it.
Okay, anything else from the planning commission? All right, let's move on. The Bruce Township's, the Bruce Sewer Capacity Subcommittee has not met, so we can skip on to that. Unfinished business, Mr. Casson, master plan.
Good evening. As you know, the Village Planning Commission and myself have been working on the Village Master Plan for a little over 2 years now. we had to hold off because of in-person meetings weren't allowed under the COVID guidelines and that. But they're at the point now that they've prepared a draft. And under the state planning enabling legislation, or enabling act, excuse me, it says that the planning commission creates and approves a master plan, but it needs to also have the review of the public, the village council, surrounding communities, SEMCOG, utilities, and the Macomb County Department of Planning and Economic Development. It also says that you're required to give those notices, give those entities 63 days to review it. But the act specifies that even though the legislative body does not necessarily have to approve the master plan, what they need to do is to authorize the submittal of the document allow the document to begin the 63-day review period. Where the 63 days comes in, I don't know, but it was a state legislative function. So all I'm here tonight is to ask you guys to approve the Planning Commission's request to begin the 63-day review period. What will happen is a copy will be placed on our website. Links will be sent to all the surrounding communities. You will all be given, as you wish, a PDF copy, or you can download it from the website if you want. And the public will be able to look at the document too. And then we'll come back in probably about 75 days or so, because the Planning Commission needs to look at the comments that come back and make possible changes. We'll come back, we'll hold a public hearing. They'll hopefully will adopt the master plan, and then you guys by right have also the, if you choose to, you can also adopt the master plan. It is not required.
How would the people submit the comments? What forum, or in what way do they submit comments?
They should be
or
written
corrections?
comments addressed to the village clerk.
Okay. An email? Do you want letters? How do you?
I can be either,
Okay.
either one.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, just looking it over myself, of course, there's different typos. Not going to go into them, but right off the top of the bat, all of our trustees are not correct. We have a trustee that is not a trustee on the list, and Justin Parker.
I understand
is missing.
that, yeah.
So I want to just go over it and send it to the clerk?
Please.
Okay.
Yep. And I don't know what version you have, but they've been continuing to be updated. This is the March 1st version now.
Okay, I don't know which one we got.
It would say March 1st right at the beginning.
She can get those corrections to the clerk before the.
Oh, absolutely.
within 60 days.
Yep, it's a work in progress. Yeah, every time, if you send me something, I'll make the changes immediately, and so that it's revolving.
I'll make a motion that we start the timetable here, 60 days.
I would second that.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you very much.
We shall, actually, we received a letter from Wright Township for their master plan at the village offices, and I gave it to Catherine, so she can begin probably utilizing that same basic format to send to the surrounding communities to start
Yes.
garnering their input as
Yes,
well.
and I'll
So,
provide
yes,
the specific language for our community.
yep. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time on that.
Can I ask you, how will the residents within the village know that it's posted to review? Do you plan on notifying the residents?
It will be on the website.
So if the residents don't go to the website to look, they won't know that it's been posted for review?
If the board wants, I don't know how the board would
So the board
notify.
does that, not you?
The board would have to choose to send a letter to every resident, is that what you're saying?
I just wanted to know how you were going to notify the residents it was ready for review.
It would be on the website. Unless the board, unless you guys want to do something differently. Put a newspaper notice in the paper.
We could put it on social media. We could, I'll make sure that we mention that at next week's special town hall meeting to try and engage. We can probably put a notification in the window for anybody who's walking by, noting the link to it.
Do we have a date
Yeah.
that'll be available? A date that it'll be available to review? Like if we're gonna tell residents that it's
On the
available.
website to review.
It's
as
available
of-
now.
It's now.
Yeah.
On our website?
I don't know if the link is on our website or not yet, so you
It'll
can
be there
upload
tomorrow.
that.
I mean, we'll have it
Okay.
available tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. The agenda item that we added for the catwalk, I know you guys talked about that at the special meeting that I wasn't here and agreed to table it because there was some concerns over the state condition of it for the outer. I know anybody walk out there to take a look at it? Okay. I did ask our DPW supervisor to go over and take a look at it. It does need some repair. He can be specific. We may need to get a new aluminum or heavy-duty ADA. The ramp used to be ADA, and that was removed, and then some steps were put in, but there's the portion of the handrail that's missing from those stairs, but I feel adamant that it needs to be ADA. So certainly we should put that ramp on there. He also looked at it and thought it might need some concrete work. So while we're still addressing the repair condition, the situation is we're going to take it sight unseen, just like when we sell property to the, whoever wants to buy it, right? You get what you get, right? The school has asked if we want to take over ownership of that catwalk and the maintenance thereof. Tim thought that the ramp and the concrete repairs may be a couple $1,000s. Is that fair?
Well,
do you have
I can't have a meeting with Chris from schools on Wednesday. Just meet him out there because the gates are locked, so I can't have access to it.
Right.
There's probably 30 feet of fence that is falling down. Concrete, I can't tell because it's covered in leaves, so I'd have to, clean the leaves off to inspect that. But yeah, the steps would have to be removed if you're going to make it ADA compliant and either pour a concrete ramp or put an aluminum ramp in.
Let's see if we table it.
So it's gonna need some repairs. Well, before we do any of that work, I just want to know realistically, what's the threshold? Do we want to have it remain open to the residents? If that's the case, then we need to assume ownership of it and unlock the gate so that people can walk through and get to the field, back and forth.
I'd like to see it.
Or we say we not. I mean, I have been approached by Mr. Tom Ridley, or the neighbor over there. He has some petitions that were signed that says, please preserve the catwalk. People want to use that track for exercise. And I think,
If the property where the middle school is developed, that'll be for all those homes as well.
Right.
So is the steps and the ramp, is that part of the property, or is that getting onto the school property?
No, the steps are halfway. I mean, where the fence is half is on one side of the gate and half is on the school property.
So part of it is on the school, once you get to the school property, then it goes down, correct?
Well, there's a couple steps on the school property, there's a couple more steps on the other side of the gate.
so while we can approve the repairs when and if we get, a detailed bid, I just need to know if you're in favor of keeping it or not.
Yeah, I guess a plan on upkeep and maintenance throughout, leaf removal, snow removal, what are we gonna do with that? I'd like just to know a plan
my
before we
initial
say,
thought
let's take
was-
this on, and then we end up blocking it because we can't afford, or we don't have the resources to maintain it.
My initial thought was that it should remain probably locked during the winter months for snow and ice for the liability. But, I don't think people are really walking there in the winter months anyways, but when it's seasonal, I see no reason why it shouldn't remain open.
Then, are we gonna plan on locking it then nightly?
No.
Or are we gonna put lights and put power to
It
it?
never had lights or power
And
before,
but it's always
so
been
I don't know
locked.
why we
Yeah.
would need to do that.
I think it's always been locked at night for
No,
a long time now, yeah, it has
Right.
been. Not when we were young, maybe not, but.
It's locked right now, but
That was a long time ago.
I would think we would need ownership before we start improving upon it. How do we go about retaining the ownership of it?
Right. Dr. Robinson said that he just needs to get a affirmative yes, a resolution that we would like ownership of it. His legal team has already met with our legal team, and so they've worked out all those details, so
Would you
it's
like a
just
motion
an
now?
administrative decision. Yes.
I'll make the motion that we take ownership of it and agree to maintain it.
I'll support it.
This is a motion by Bartholomew, support by Edwards. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, so we'll get that moving forward. All right, other item that we added was for appointed positions. I was very concerned when I saw this flyer circulating on social media. Don't know who created it. I don't know who used the village logo. It certainly looks like it was something that was issued by the village office. I have some concerns over intellectual property rights because this did not come from the village office. So not sure who took the liberties to do that. It was on your political page, so I don't know if you drafted this or yours was the first place that I noted that this was posted. So I don't know if you created this.
And so that was your concern?
Well, my concern was that it looks like it was issued from the village offices and it wasn't. So yeah, that's a huge concern that people can just make that presentation, that representation. It would be like me drafting a letter and sending it on Mark's stationery. Just because he's the village attorney doesn't mean that that the letter would have been issued,
I think that's
from him. So yes, I had some concerns. I also was concerned that residents would show up tonight and think that we were talking about it as part of our agenda item because that's what it invites them to come to this meeting, which is great. I'm happy you're all here. We can absolutely talk about this. I didn't add it to the agenda item because I still was doing some research and some additional work on it. As you know, at last month's meeting, I asked you to sit down with me to go over the proposed ordinance change and perhaps bring back a revised version, and you declined that invitation, which is fine. I can do
We're
that
here,
work myself.
we're on the topic.
Yeah,
I mean, if we have residents who want to discuss it, I don't know if this needs to be a bashing session here for whatever reason.
No bashing, no bashing at all. I'm
There's plenty of
happy
things
to
that
add it
come
to the
out without
agenda,
approval.
which we did.
And I don't know, Mark, did you get a chance to look at the possibility of changing the language in the proposed ordinance?
I've not looked at anything. My comments that I made the last meeting are the same. It's statutory. You can, as a body, you can decide to make those positions both or separately, individually appointed. There's a procedure for that. There's a vote requirement. There's a period of referendum. Beyond what I said last meeting, and I'm saying right now, I've not made any further inquiries. So my position on it is the same as it was last month, and if you want me to look at something...
Yeah, I thought we were going to look at the wording with the way that the appointment happened, and then also the voting of that, if we could change that to a 2/3 vote instead of just a majority vote. I think that's what we discussed. Is that correct?
The change of the ordinance requires a 2/3 majority.
The change of the ordinance, but when we were going through the ordinance as presented at the last meeting, and I think you agreed with me that you'd be willing to look at changing the appointment when that happens, if that happens, to a 2/3 vote also, not just a majority vote for the actual appointment, not changing the ordinance.
Yes.
You agreed with me on that, and then probably it also had to be with removing.
If I was
the person.
supposed to look at that, I apologize. I understand your question or your point that if the positions or one of them becomes appointive, can that appointment be by a supermajority vote? I have not looked at that. If I was supposed to, I apologize.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were going to look at that and then have it not just a presidential appointment as a board appointment.
Well, that's the way it, let's look at the statute. Instead of saying it says this or that, let's just look at it. And the statute says, the council by a 2/3 of the members, the council by a vote of 2/3 of the members of the council may provide by ordinance for the nomination by the president and the appointment by the council of the clerk or the treasurer or both for such term as the ordinance may provide. So that might be an inartful use of wording, but it's the legislature's wording, and the president nominates. The statute uses the word appointment, but I think you could substitute approves, the approval being by the council. So it's a nomination by the president and an appointment by the council requiring a 2/3 vote. And if that's done, then there's a period of time for a referendum. It can be challenged, and there's a certain number of people who would have to sign the petition to call for the referendum. That's all by statute. You cannot change that.
That's to change the ordinance.
No,
Or
no.
to create.
That's if it goes through.
To make an
No,
appointment.
right now, you don't have an ordinance regarding how the clerk and the president and the trustees assume their positions. It's all statutory. It's by election. The terms are set forth by statute. They're staggered. The elections, the way they're conducted, they used to be by the village, now they're by the town. In the village's case, the townships, or arguably 3 townships, because part of the village now is in Ray Township, or part of Ray Township's now in the village. But that's all statutory. You can't change that. And so if what you're asking is if you go to that method, if the council by 2/3 vote decides that it wants to have the clerk and or the treasurer's position nominated by the president, appointed by the board of trustees or the council, you can't change that. And if you're asking if you go that route, can you then have that appointment process or approval process be by a supermajority? And I have not looked at that. And if I was supposed to, I apologize.
One thing I would add how something like this would work, it wouldn't be the president just going out in a secret whatever and come up with a nomination. I would see the process being where the board would have a hiring committee. They would be looking at resumes, all that information would be putting out, and based on that hiring committee's recommendation, the president would make a recommendation for the board to adopt. But it wouldn't be just, here's a name, take it or leave, thumbs up or thumbs down, and then, okay, here's another name. It would be a formal hiring process, I would think.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the positions of clerk and treasurer to be appointed by the president. I think that's...
Do we need to have
a motion
another...
on the floor? Do we have support?
I support it. Do we
Okay.
need to
We
have
have a
another
motion and
public
support.
hearing in order to make a vote?
You don't.
The other public hearing holds.
It does. In fact, you don't have to have a public hearing to adopt your ordinances. You're a village, you're not a township. You don't have first, second, third readings. So you could, if you chose, you could, somebody could make a motion. If it was supported, you could vote on tonight whether or not you wanted one or both of those positions to be appointed.
And
So I-
that's the other question, it could be one or both.
Yes, it does not have to be both. They're not joined at the hip. The statute allows you to choose one or the other or both.
And that's pretty common with villages.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Fowler. We have support by Postanski. Would you please restate your motion for Catherine?
It included, I'm
To
just
deny-
questioning, does it include both?
to deny the positions of clerk and treasurer to be appointed by the president.
So to keep it status quo, basically.
Yep, keep it status quo.
Can you do a roll call on
Well,
that?
wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Discussion.
You have more discussion?
Yeah, you don't have the power to do that as right now anyways, correct?
No, I don't.
So can that motion technically be made to deny the president to do something she's not allowed
Or I
to do
can
already?
just keep it the way it is. That's even simpler.
So wait,
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm making a motion when it's already the way it is right now.
So I guess the thing would be to make a motion to approve it, and if it passes or fails.
Okay.
Right?
So I'd have to change my motion to keep it the way it is, basically.
It's
Mr.
your
Clark,
motion.
is that what I have to say?
Well,
it's your
I'm
motion.
going legal now. Now I gotta go legal
if you're
here.
going to let me tell you what you have to say, I'd like to go around the table.
Okay.
If nothing is done, things will stay the same.
Okay.
The only way it's going to change potentially is if there is a motion made, supported, and voted affirmatively by 2/3 of you sitting at the table tonight to change that, to make one or both of the positions of clerk and treasurer appointed. And if you do that, then it'll trigger the time whereby people can seek signatures, and if they get the sufficient or requisite number of signatures within the required period of time, there would be a vote on that by the people. And so if you do nothing tonight, as far as the positions of clerk and treasurer, they're going to stay the same.
Okay.
So would you rescind your motion?
I can rescind my motion.
Okay. I would like for this council to consider putting a ballot initiative together. We heard loudly, anybody who tuned into the Washington Township meeting over Parks and Rec, the people were screaming, it's my voice, it's my vote. They wanted it to be put on the ballot initiative. If this board isn't comfortable, does not want to make this decision, let's put it to the voters. Let them decide. It's your voice.
Before you get too far down that path, you may be able to do that, but I caution you because you are not permitted to seek advisory votes from the public. It's not a bad idea. It's good to know what the public thinks and have the public express their point of view, but the statute says it's the council that makes that change if you choose to make that change. And so it's possible that if you put that issue on a ballot, first of all, it would probably, the result would only be advisory. And secondly, being only an advisory vote, you may have some issues with respect to using public money to have people vote on what is this body's responsibility. So I'm not going to say conclusively you can't do it, but I'm letting you know you probably won't be able to do that. So you can have your discussion, but I just don't want you to get too far down the road and then a month or 2 months or 6 months from now say, hey, Mark, why didn't you say something?
Because putting it on ballot would essentially just be taking a poll. The only way to actually enact it is for this committee to make that motion.
This board, correct.
Yeah.
I make a motion to table this agenda to the April regular meeting and have Mark's opinion on if we can change the language in the ordinance to be a 2/3.
Well, yeah, and I'll look at that, but again, so there's no misunderstanding. You can't change the ordinance. What you would change, if at all, is can you ascribe a super majority voting requirement to the approval of the council of whomever the president nominates?
Of the appointment, and then also removal of that said person if need be.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to table it for one more month.
To April's regular meeting.
I'll support that.
We have support by Hart. Any other discussion? Colin, I'm sorry.
I would, yes, the information that you're holding up, the print-off that you had.
Social media
that you saw
post.
circulating around. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I made that and I got the information out to the people. And good thing I did, because look at us sitting here talking about it. You had the chance, whether or not it was on our agenda, to talk about it at public comment, because you're not sure when it is going to be talked about, because you don't go to get a fancy mailer in your mailbox about this issue, about taking your vote away. So yes, I did put it out. I hung it up here at the Parks and Rec, because part of what you did ask me is not only to work on the ordinance, but to help get the word out. So that's what I did. I told you, yes, I would help get the word out. So that's what I did.
I think the point is using the logo.
I'm a Romeo resident. That's my logo. That's your logo. That's your logo. That's your logo.
Well, I would disagree.
Yeah, President Malzahn.
You can disagree all you want. I didn't see when I grabbed it from Google. There's no watermark on it. It doesn't say that it doesn't say any of that.
President Malzahn, would you continue to look into that? Because I really don't want flyers put out with our logo that I had no idea about. That could cause a lot of problems, and I don't even know if it's legal. So if you could continue to look into that.
What does it say right under it? Attention Romeo residents. I put the Romeo logo on it to get the attention of Romeo residents.
I don't like that. She's
So you
claim
would
to it.
say-
She's a trustee.
Any group that wants to put the Romeo
It's kind of like
logo-
Parks and Rec,
Free to do
where some people have put together
Try that
information
before
about Parks and Rec and put out the Parks and Rec logo on it.
Try that with
Like I
Ford
could put the
Motor Company.
Kiwanis
Try that
logo
with
on there,
GM.
the
Try that
Lions
with
logo.
anything.
It's
They
just
sue you so
it's just
fast.
it's not good.
Huh?
That's trademark. She's a trustee. I was glad for it. I'm a new resident. I wouldn't have known about this.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Nobody knew where it came from.
can't hear you, ma'am.
Right.
It can say from Megan, trustee.
Right.
Your logo.
Right. Like your trustee talks. Yes.
As an item.
The concern is the other items of information that you do post on your page, which is absolutely your right to do that, your trustee talk. It says that it's from you. I had no idea who created this or who posted this, so I really didn't know. And that was just concerning to me, that people would assume that it came from my office when it didn't. Not that I have any objection to them hearing about it, knowing about it. That's why I voted, and you didn't, to have a public hearing last month so that they could come to talk about it. So,
You asked me at the last meeting to help get the word out, so I did.
Well, at least now you know.
and work on the ordinance, yes.
At least now you know who created it.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So
And I would
it's very
say,
concerning.
I don't know if we have to, what we have to do, but I would at least at this point agree that we can't put the logo of the village as it's being misrepresented, that it's from the village rather than an individual. That we should at least be able to resolve that.
I'm confused.
Sounds like we might need a
Is
policy.
the work that I
She
do
is
on
the
my
first
social media page, is that work done as a trustee, or is it not work done as a trustee?
It's just
Because
a
if it's
logo.
not work, because if it's not done under the guise of trustee, then you can't FOIA it. But if it is done under the guise of a trustee and the Village of Romeo, then I should be able to use our logo.
All right, we had a motion and we had support to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we're going to table the appointed positions for one more month. So everybody here, you wish to come back, we're again, happy to get your input. If you want to have a conversation with me, trust any of the trustees, I'm sure everybody's happy to meet with you to go over this, because we have seen it and heard from it from both sides. So thank you for your patience. Okay, moving on to new business. Proclamation, item 10A, a proclamation policy. This was something that was addressed at the Michigan Association of Mayors Conference that I held. You know, I get a lot of requests to make proclamations or congratulatory certificates, and they don't always apply to Romeo, what happens out of the village in the municipality level. Sometimes they're more personal, which I'm happy to, issue a certificate of, 100th birthday to anybody who makes that milestone. That's not the issue. But in order, to really make it a non-executive decision, right, I wanted this board to have a policy in place that says, let me just read this background. Village Council received requests for proclamations to honor and celebrate milestones or achievements of Romeo residents and businesses, and also to raise awareness of certain events or causes that are being held locally within the village boundaries and specifically apply to local interests of the village. This policy will be used to define both the policy and procedure for approval or denial for the request.
I like the first part of this, Christine. It's where we get into the also raising awareness of causes and events. I don't know if that's something the municipality needs to take on.
Right, that's why
and
it's
applying to
limiting
local
those.
interest. Who determines whose interest that's in?
Right.
So I mean, I'm all for the beginning part,
Mm-hmm.
but after that, I don't think we need to be spending time or resources to promote other stuff going on. That would maybe
Right.
DDA could be promoting events and stuff downtown, but not so much the municipality itself.
Right, so we need a policy of which lets that denial occur, and which is how this is drafted. So this is basically saying that any person requesting a proclamation or presentation at a regular village council meeting shall submit their written request to the village president and/or his or her designee at least 14 days prior to the next regular meeting. Proclamations must be approved by village council at a regular meeting prior to the reading thereof. If a presentation is requested or approved, the proclamation will be included under the agenda business item. So this gives this board the authority to approve or deny any request.
I'd like to make the motion that we adopt the proclamation policy as presented here.
We have a motion by Bartholomew.
Support.
We have support by Edwards. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
One,
I'm sorry, one?
one,
Who was that?
that's me.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Moving on, Romeo Tree Board update. David Miller, thank you for your patience. Who knew it'd be 8:45 and we'd just be getting to this agenda item? But
I can keep it short. So for some reason, I had a thought you had this big screen behind you with PowerPoint. And I'd show a PowerPoint presentation, but I'll just do hand waving instead and just point to the different quadrants where trees are and are going and all the rest. So David Miller, I'm here on behalf of the rest of the tree board. Chris McLeod, Donna Fullen, Ruth Heidelbright, and Leo Hudson. And of course, we have a couple of you that come to the board meeting pretty much every month, so appreciate it, support there. So the purpose of this will give an update of 2021 efforts and then the plan for 2022. Like I said, I'll do some hand waving. The slides were in your packet, so if you got a chance to look at those, then that's basically what I'll brief to. So review of 2021. Five areas that we were able to attain is one is Tree City USA, which we'll talk about, and the spongy moth issue that we talked about towards the end of last year, I guess, mid last year. That we were able to suppress that. The Arbor Day celebration, we got a Facebook page set up, and then donations of 7 trees last year. So it was a good year, and we got going in spite of COVID that happened and the lockdown and everything. We were able to do all these events, and a big part of the success was with, what's that?
We had to change the moth name.
We changed the moth name, yes. Well,
it's been changed.
Yes. So if you heard gypsy moth before, now it's spongy moth. Right. We can give you the legal Latin name, or the Latin name if you care, but I'm not going to try to say it right now. But a big portion of the success was, of course, with your support as a council, putting especially that spongy moth issue to rest for the year. And then donations by private citizens and local companies as well allowed us to put 7 trees in. So quickly, the Tree City USA, I really didn't know much about it up until maybe a few years ago, but to give you a perspective of what it is, there's several requirements. One is $2 per capita budget that you put aside for trees, which ends up being about $7,500 a year, given our current population. Have a tree board established, which we have, an Arbor Day proclamation, which the president has made that last year and making this year, a tree ordinance, which we have, and an application process, which we put in last year, and it was accepted. There's about 10,000 cities, villages, and so forth in the U.S., and there's about 3,000, about a third of them are Tree City USAs. So this recognition is not really about getting the recognition. It's really about showing that we're doing the right things to current residents and future residents to keep trees healthy, and that's what's important. And it really provides us a framework to build from, so we're just not, we're doing trees and we're doing everything, willy-nilly. We actually have a framework that's proven and that we're following to do that. So just quickly talking about the spongy moth issue, we got a call from the Michigan State University Extension Office. I see the shirt on there. And stating that there is a problem in 2021 with the spongy moth. You all approved for the spray of the village, and it was a success. The goal was less than 40% defoliation, and they were assessed after the spray, they were assessed about 10 to 15% of defoliation. So very, very good success on that. So thank you for that. But remember, it can't be eradicated. It is an invasive species that came in from the outside, and we just need to keep an eye on it. So we'll definitely keep reporting out and doing the PSAs through our website and our Facebook page. And speaking of the Facebook page, it's out there, the Village of Romeo Tree Board, a lot of traffic. Thanks to Ruth for putting that together on her free time, air quotes. And I think she's here. And then this is where I start pointing around for 2021. So I already heard it talked about tonight in quadrants, the village cut up in quadrants, so we'll talk in those terms. So last year we had 4 trees donated for Arbor Day, 2 from the Tri-County Bank,
downtown, Romeo, and one from the Anna Reese, and one from the Bourgeois family as dedication or donated for memory commemorative trees. We tried to put them downtown. We had problems with the road commission, so we ended up down here over at the cemetery and planted 4 there for Arbor Day up along the street. And really, you know, the point of it is not putting them deep in the cemetery, but up towards the road is that, you know, to get that tree canopy as we drive into the village. And I've only been here 15 years, and a lot of people have been here a lot longer, and they talk about how the arching tree canopies going into the village used to be so much more lush. And so trying to get back to that, trying to get back to a point where we can replace some of those trees that are lost. And then in May, so it was April 2021, May in 2021, we have 3 more trees, 2 dedicated anonymously and put in the admin building of the Romeo School right there on Main Street, and the one across the street as well, donated. So moving into 2022, you know, we're going for Tree City USA again, gives us the framework of what to do, how to do it, and keeps us on schedule, on course. Grabbing your calendar, be sure to write April 29th, 2022. We'll have our 2nd annual Arbor Day celebration. We'll start, the plan right now, it's, you know, in the works. The plan right now is to meet at the Amanda Moore School at 3 o'clock with a bunch of seedlings, bring the kids out, plant a tree in their property, donated tree, and as the kids go back in, each kid gets a seedling so they can take back home and they can plant. And then move all this down at 4 p.m. down to the Village Park and do the proclamation. Move over to Starkweather Alley, or to Starkweather behind there, and dedicate a tree there, and then over to Kezar Library downtown and plant 2 donated trees there as well. So, and then we're working on a tree ordinance and tree policy letter to work with DPW and work with the residents so everyone understands kind of the general guidelines of what it means to put a tree in the right of way. Because we're only talking about trees in the right of way, really. You know, we care about all the trees, but the trees in people's backyards, you know, are good, but we're more concerned about the trees more in the public spaces. And then planting of these trees. So we'll get into the planting here in a couple, I'll say a couple slides, but a couple talking points here. But generally, I think what we want to do and the real foot stomper for 2022 is starting moving forward and asking the board if we can start conceptualizing a policy around no net loss of village tree canopy. In other words, a tree comes out, let's figure out how to get another tree back in. And how to practically do that in an administrative way is not as easy as just saying it, because sometimes the tree dies, it's diseased, and then, you know, it's like, what's the plan to get it back in? And that's where we want to work as the volunteer tree board to make sure that happens. So going back to the arm waving, so on Arbor Day, we'll put in 2 trees on the Kezar side, Kezar Library, and one on over here on the northeast quadrant at the Starkweather Alley, and then one on Tilson. Bob Hart in front of his house, he's paying for that, and then the Arbor Day event at Amanda Moore. Somewhere along the street area, we got to talk to the school and figure out what makes most sense given what they have already. So those are the trees that go in then. And in your board packet, you'll see the last slide, which is really the important part. You know, when a tree is donated and someone wants it in a specific place, like Starkweather, or at the library, or at the school, or somewhere like that, we can't really say, hey, but you can't put it there. You know, we need to put it somewhere else. You know, it's like, well, you know, they kind of have a say because they're paying for it. So what we'd like to do really is look at when the village puts money into trees, we figure out how to ensure equity of planting, that every quadrant has kind of equal amount of trees. Again, you know, most of the trees are planted in this quadrant that we stand in now, and that was only because we were trying to put them over there and they got moved over here at the last minute due to the road right-of-way, or the road commission issue. And so if you look on the northeast quadrant, 2021 we put in 5 trees, donated trees. 2022 we'll put in 3 donated trees, and so that leaves basically this northwest quadrant with 2 trees we'd like to put in this year with village money to kind of put it at 10, and say 10 is like our where we want to have the number of trees between 2021 and 2022. If you go to the southwest quadrant, 2021 we had no donated trees. 22 we'll have 1 donated tree on Tilson Street. So we would like to put 9 trees with village money in that quadrant, and that will get us at 10. So again, just getting everything to that number of 10, just so we have a little equity across quadrants. Northeast, 2 donated, and 2021 and 22, 1 donated, so 7. And then southeast, haven't had anything in the southeast quadrant yet. We would have had 4, but we weren't able to due to the road commission. So we would like to get 10 for that quadrant. So that comes up to a number of 28 trees, which is roughly, and I'm not asking for a budget, and not requesting budget right now, just kind of giving you general numbers for 2022. With that logic, it'd be 28 trees of buying, planting, caring for, and making sure they live for the year, 2 years. That's approximately $10,000. So, which is a little more than what the requirement is, a State Tree City USA, which is 7,500. So wanted to just give you that logic. So, it made sense instead of just saying we want a budget and we don't know what we're doing with it quite yet. Let's try to balance it out between the donations and think logically of how we keep trees throughout the whole village kind of equal. So that's all I have. Wanted to just let you know where we're heading. We have a good group of volunteers that are really pushing to get trees in the ground, and that's really our only purpose in life is keep trees alive, educate the public on how to keep their trees alive, and put new trees in as they die, of course. So, and I'll stop there for questions.
And a bigger thing that you're working on is the updated ordinance that's needed to be done. So there's a lot of work going on. And, I'm seeing what you guys are doing and volunteering, and it was much needed and appreciated.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
Dave, what was the issue with you said the road commission in the southeast?
So, we were about to plant, and then we found out that they have a rule where you can't plant a tree from the curb 15 foot in from the 2 county roads.
Oh, so from Van.
Yeah, so it's one of those, if you ask and then you find out the thing you don't want to hear, right? Which we don't want to, violate the law, of course, and put in a tree where they don't want it. But there's a lot of trees that are there, kind of grandfathered in. But if you measure 15 foot from the curb in front of Tri-County Bank there, where there's quite wide, it's 16 feet to the sidewalk, basically 16 or 17 feet. So you're right on top of the sidewalk, which isn't, beneficial to the village to put trees around the sidewalk. So the best we've got out of them so far, just going back and forth on the phone, kind of just talking, was if you put a tree in that's a breakaway tree, in other words, if a car hits it, it'll snap and it won't stop the car, they would be okay with that. So that leaves you with pretty small trees. So we're still trying to work that out and figure out how to move forward with that, because we really feel strongly we need to get trees on those corridors coming into town, and make it look
You could put
more
them in
green.
breakaway, and then they'd get green.
Right. So it's all a liability issue, really. And there are ways around it by doing, the resident getting a separate insurance policy, and I don't have all the details right here, and then they can request it and put it in, but still has to be 15 feet back, so it doesn't really solve it necessarily. So we have some work to do there. Definitely have some work, and we'll be chipping away at it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Dave, $10,000 budget. We will vote on a new budget that won't go into effect until July 1st.
Right.
Do you have money in your budget now? I don't know where your budget was, but to kind of maybe get things started earlier than that, or?
So no, pretty much the spongy moth, as we like to call it now.
Yeah, kind of ate your budget.
No pun intended, the moths ate the budget, right? Yeah.
So,
$27,000 is what it cost us.
So
to
in the
spray that.
meantime, we have quite a few donations coming in at the moment, which we'll plant in the spring. And you really only want to plant your trees in the spring and in the fall, not in the summer. So it's okay for the time being that we can put the ones in for the donations, and then worry about the fall when the budget kicks in. So we should be fine.
And if
then-
residents,
I'm sorry,
if
go ahead.
residents hear your need right now and they would like to make a donation, where would they go to let this be known?
So As of now, between the Facebook page is gonna, we have, and the village, going into the village and talking to the village staff is a good place.
So
And
contact the office or message page.
Yeah, they'll give an email to us and we can follow up with it. Really, the process right now is just the money goes to the village and then it's paid out of there to get the tree and all that, so, and to get it planted. So right now, we're using KLM to put the trees in,
Okay.
to buy and put the trees in.
Yeah, because
so.
you know our people, and when we say there's a
Yeah.
need, people
Yeah.
step up. So
Right.
I want them to know where to go.
Yeah.
Where to go.
The Romeo
And-
Tree Board Facebook page has a fillable contact form. I'm not sure, Ruth, is that up?
Yeah, you can get, all
Okay.
you have to do is communicate to the inbox on our
Yep.
website, or on our Facebook page, and we'll contact you to fill out the form. So it's well needed. There's a lot of people that would love to plant a tree around here, and we could use the help.
Yeah, and we're putting plaques, metal plaques, we have to put them on the trees up at the graveyard now for memorial plaques, and we're gonna maintain those as well, just so as you walk through town. Think of the Catholic Church downtown here. If you walk through the property, you'll see little metal plaques of dedication plaques on the trees, kind of similar to that. Just keep them all the same, nice and classy looking is the thought, so. So,
Thank you.
thanks for the question.
Absolutely. I believe David's going to work on a quick little budget request that he's going to have prepared for our goals and objectives meeting on next Wednesday to consider for our budget as well, so.
I didn't come here to get tasked.
I know, sorry. It never ends. The life of a volunteer. Thank you, David. I appreciate all of your efforts and leadership on that tree board. They're doing great things. Okay. So that sort of segues into our Arbor Day proclamation. So the Village Tree Board under the direction of, the Village of Romeo, under the direction of the Romeo Tree Board and the Village President, hold an annual Arbor Day event on Friday, April 29th, in accordance with the requirements set forth by the Tree City USA designation, which has been granted to us. And he just detailed this year's event. So as part of that, I need to make the proclamation that is on the second page. So can I get a motion to approve the proclamation per our new policy?
Support.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hart, we have support by Parker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now I shall read this. A proclamation by the President of the Village of Romeo, Michigan for Arbor Day. Whereas in 1862, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable source giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and beauty to our community. And whereas trees in our village increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and provide character to our community. And now, therefore, I, Christine Melzon, President of the Village of Romeo, in the County of Macomb, and on behalf of the Village Council and the Romeo Tree Board, do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the Village of Romeo, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Further, I urge all citizens to plant trees in order to promote the well-being of this generation and future generations to come. Dated this 21st day of March, 2022. All right. Thank you very much for that. Okay, next up we have two DDA items, the DDA bylaws and the DDA budget amendments. We have, again, our Executive Director, Elizabeth Miller, here. So just to recap a little bit of background, the DDA Director has submitted on behalf of the DDA a draft document amending their current bylaws. They are requesting approval from Village Council of their amendments to Section 3 regarding the treasurer and Section 4 check disbursements. You have copies of that in your packet. Is there any discussion on the bylaws? And this was approved by Village Council last year, which is why this is coming back before us. for a DDA.
For the change.
Yes.
Megan, do you have any input on this, being on the DDA?
Like explanation a little further? So we had lost our treasurer, and we needed to reappoint a treasurer. At that point, the person that stepped up is in the business, I will say in the money business. So we needed to make sure that everything was, he couldn't be in charge of certain things because of the business that he's in. So we needed to adjust this, and that is where the language came in.
So you're making a motion?
I'd like to make, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposed DDA bylaws as presented.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion by Bartholomew, we have support by Parker. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
This lock doesn't stay in.
So moving on to item 10E, DDA Executive Director Elizabeth Miller has submitted on behalf of the DDA its March 7th, 2022 board-approved budget amendments. The DDA is working with their interim accountant to bring its fiduciary reporting, budgeting, and accounting procedures into alignment with the standards required by the state of Michigan and the Uniform Municipal Accounting Codes. Since their budget obviously is a part of our budget, we felt it was prudent to bring the budget amendments, again, they are approved by the DDA, forward for our approval as well. If there are any questions regarding that, Elizabeth is here. Or hearing none, make a motion to approve the DDA budget amendments as presented.
Second.
No.
I thought she made a motion.
Oh, does this need?
Did you make a motion?
It does need a motion, yes.
Oh,
I can make the motion, yes.
I seconded it, yes.
Oh, it just says, it said no board action required.
To receive it, well, a motion to receive it.
Oh,
yes,
copy.
that's basically what we're doing.
And I
yes.
still second.
Okay. Okay, moving on, lawn maintenance RFP. No, well, it's no board action that's taken, we just have to agree that we're receiving it, which we did. You want to do all in favor of receiving it? Any opposed? Okay, it's received. Okay, so the contractor selected from the previous RFP, the Snowplow Group, has notified the clerk's office they will no longer be providing services to the Village of Romeo. Therefore, a new vendor will be contracted to perform services as outlined at the village-owned properties identified in the draft within your packet. Proposal should also include an option for work performed at the Romeo Cemetery as identified. So the properties include the Village of Romeo Park on the corner of Rawls and Newberry. There's a piece of vacant property, 378 Sisson Street, at the IRP, which is 270 First Street, the booster station, 213 Dickinson, the alleyway at 200 North Main Street, the water treatment plant located on St. Clair, the Romeo DPW grounds at Powell Road, the vacant property until it becomes a parking lot on Church Street, the southwest quadrant, which is behind the Office Pub, the 32 Mile Road and Bailey Street easement, and the parking lot at 32 Mile and Bailey Street. You can see the outline of work that's stated. This is the same RFP that we issued in previous years. We just updated the dates for submission and the years of coverage.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the RFP as drafted for immediate posting.
Support.
The cemetery's always been included with our lawn maintenance, or has that been handled internally?
We asked for a separate submission on the last RFP, just as a cost comparison to what it costs to have that done by the current employed staff. So that's why we included it, not as part of it, but as a separate submission.
So that'd be completely separate, not
Yes.
voted on.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm sorry, so we had a motion by Bartholomew. Was that support by Edwards? Yes. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that issued right away, because spring has sprung. Okay, a marijuana business license. As mandated in Village Ordinance Number 5, the review of applications for the one submittal attached for a marijuana business license has been completed. The clerk has forwarded to me all required documentation and has reported that the one application has satisfied the submittal requirements specified in Ordinance 557. After review of the separation measurements stated in the Village of Romeo zoning ordinance, section 46-5, this application has met the 750-foot property line to property line buffer zone required by the ordinance. Therefore, based on the date and time stamp under which the application was received, meeting all criteria in Ordinance 557 and in Section 46-5 of the Village Zoning Ordinance, I approve a marijuana business license for the following parcel ID, number 27-01-36-426-009, also known as 100 Schaefer Drive. No board action is necessary. Yep, just going to state it that we have given that license. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Wastewater treatment pump replacement, item 10H. I apologize that the packet was missing one piece of the second page. I believe you all had it at your place setting. In order to keep the wastewater treatment plant functioning at optimal levels, a replacement solids handling pump is needed. Her pump is the preferred vendor of choice for the equipment. And I wrote the wrong amount based on the first price of $12,921, but with the installation that's on the second page, the total is actually $16,909.
So I'd like to make a motion. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Right.
That's fine.
Al's been waiting
Once
all
I
night.
gotta talk, I'm happy.
Right.
So, good evening. So last year in August, I came to you and asked you to pick out, we had 3 quotes for a pump for our tower. We have 3 pumps for that tower. We want the exact same one, all 3. So at the time, we picked out the one from Curb Pump, who is the manufacturer's rep for Fairbanks Morse. And we've gotten that pump and we have it installed and it's working great. So, in fact, because of the way the supply is right now, I need to ask you to do this now so we can get the pump, because it's 16 weeks before we can get the pump, so we can get it next year, next physical year. I only have one quote because, like I said, we want to use the same pump, the same manufacturer. And at the time when I asked you for these, I told you that I'd be doing that. And then next year, when I ask for the third pump, I'll probably come with just one quote from the same folks.
Okay. Can you work them down a little bit next time?
I could try, but
Yeah, work them.
everything's going up.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the pump purchase as requested by Washington Township Supervisor Al Lapierre.
Wastewater treatment plant supervisor.
Wastewater.
Yeah. Don't be shipping him down to Washington Township. They don't even, yeah.
And I
I'll
suppose I would
support.
support that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was a motion by Bartholomew.
My apologies.
Who supported?
Justin is fine.
Okay.
Al, I might ask this on the last one too. Is there an option to look at rebuilding these instead of just a full-out replacement? Is it
The
feasible?
The 3 pumps we have were put in when we built the plant.
Mhm.
And we did, I think we took talk about this.
Mhm.
We've rebuilt each one of those pumps twice. They
Okay.
keep breaking shafts. They're a Payco pump,
Mhm.
and they keep breaking shafts. We got to get away from that. I can't keep rebuilding this. It takes hours and hours and hours of time and thousands of dollars to do this. Plus, we can't get any more shafts for those pumps. They don't make them anymore. So we're down to the last one.
Yeah, I thought we touched base. I just wanted to clarify for myself. Appreciate it.
The difference from last year and this year?
I think it was pretty close. It was $16,000 last year, I think.
I was going to say, how long is this quote good for? Because when we buy the second one, is this quote going to be good? Or the third one?
Yeah, and so, like, next year I'll come. I just want to do this now so we can get this at the beginning of the physical year, so I can, because I really need to get it.
Is there a life expectancy of the new pumps?
I'm hoping 20 years, but you don't
20.
get it really, you don't really get a guarantee if you pass like a year.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion
Thanks,
to approve the purchase by Bartholomew. We have support by Parker. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Edwards, I'm sorry, Parker?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Poznanski?
Yes.
President Malzahn?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right. Item 10I, Washington Romeo Water Service Line Agreement. Mr. Maher, who's in attendance tonight, who will probably speak and answer any questions, Director of St. Clements Finance, has requested that the St. Clement property be allowed to receive its water service from Washington Township. According to Mr. Maher, the boiler system and other equipment currently in place at the location is not operating efficiently due to the water quality. Easements have been obtained by St. Clements and Romeo Village Properties, as well as the St. Clements Church and Romeo Land Company, easements between those two entities, which you have attached in your paper, in your documents. So just briefly, we started talking about this issue a long time ago, in May of 21, when Mr. Maher first approached me. And we met several times, with Tim, DPW. We met with Rich Amarino. We went down to Washington Township a couple times and had a think tank of, is this possible? Can we do this? What does this look like? And ultimately, a draft agreement was put in place, which you see, it's old, references, May of 2021. We have some concerns regarding our current structure with one water meter that meters both water and sewer. How does that function if they're getting water from another water source and still maintaining sewer service on the village's infrastructure? So that was a concern. And we sort of looked at what does that look like, and I conveyed to Mr. Maher, and he's fully aware of the situation, at least I hope he is, that he understands that it's one metered system, so he will still be paying for water and sewer based on the flows that are metered from that. Much like some of the community, the condos came to us and said, hey, we're just using water for our sprinkler system. Why are we being billed for sewer when we're not actually using sewer because it's going as groundwater? Right? It's just part of the way that our infrastructure and our billing system has been set up. So I made that clear, and he said he understood that and wanted to move this forward.
So they'll have two water inputs?
They'll have one water source that will service the property, and then the output to the current sewer hookup that they already have.
But they would get a bill from the village.
Based on the Washington
a water
Township?
bill, but it would be really for sewer, and they would get a Washington water bill?
Well, that's part of Mark's concern, to be perfectly honest with you. Him and I met, we went over this contract. This contract really doesn't have any protections for the village in it, especially regarding those billing matters. So this was drafted by Washington Township's legal counsel, Mr. Siebert, and Mark has some concerns, but before we went any further with the contract and the language, really wanted to find out, is there support? Does this village council think that it's a good service to provide to the church in their request? Honestly, I have some concerns myself with infrastructure coming from another municipality into the village boundaries. It just is a concern that opens the door for other people on our system to ask for the same consideration. Whether it's valid or not, I'm not arguing that. I understand the equipment,
Is he on a well? He's on our well?
He's on
right?
our system.
He's not on our Detroit water, he's on our.
Correct. Yep, and
So
so he
don't we
wants
have
to get on Detroit water.
Don't we have a line running right down Newberry Street? Because, or down the railroad tracks area, right there? The old railroad tracks? Thought that's where they
No.
brought that line.
That line stops across the street.
Durham.
Tim can answer that better. Sorry to put you on the spot.
There's a 96-inch main that runs down alongside the tracks, but Detroit
Won't let us tap it.
will not tap that for a small service.
For-
It's a very extensive and expensive job to tap that main.
Because it's, let's say sometime in the future, our well might start messing up. That would be an excellent tap to have to service that western quadrant.
Well, that's why when we looked at the interconnect valve that we're working with putting in Washington Township out by the Ford plant.
Which is across
Originally,
33.
I was trying to convey them to go underneath the bypass and bring that up 31 miles so that it would be coming up from the south instead of across the freeway, so that we would have that as an option. It's problematic if we were to switch water sources for all the residences
Well, I understand
now
that.
anyway, because what we don't want is a Flint situation. I mean, our wells, our service lines, they're all used to our Romeo water,
So
right?
Detroit won't let us tap into that, even
No.
though it's sitting right there.
Correct. It's not as easy as.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise.
It's a 96-inch main, right? 96 inches, that's huge. Yeah.
So this,
Go ahead.
Do you mind if I
Water taps are
say
there.
it?
Yes, oh, please, yes. Mhm.
Steel reinforced, like it's not.
I'm sorry, these weren't in the packet.
Yeah, okay.
This is the monster that's causing our issue. First off, it's way past my bedtime, so
Apologize
I'll
for
be as
that.
quick as possible. We did approach Christine approximately a year and a half ago. We've made a lot of capital expenditures on our facility. I think, you know, I think everyone here knows that we're good citizens, and we've been very diligent in trying to keep our property maintained as well as possible. I was very flattered by the comment from your tree man that our trees are nice and classy looking, so I appreciate that. We do care a lot about how we are in the community, and we care about the community, and actually we care about all of you people here tonight. It's a big job running a community. We just happen to we've been reluctant to come because we're kind of unusual. Our situation is this: we have a 17-acre campus, and in that, just as an example, I've got 28 rooftop units on the top of those buildings over there. I have over 30 toilets. I have no idea how many sinks and faucets I have, but the unusual part of it is that those things typically work great if you use them a lot, but in our case, we don't use them a lot. They come in on the weekends, and they're used a little, and then they go away and they sit. It's just very rough on our equipment. And we've been reluctant to say anything or do anything until last year we had one of those monster boilers, big old things you see in the scary movies, and it was cast iron, and we got an estimate to look at that because we didn't have any redundancy or backup to it. And we actually found out that to even just to replace it was going to take a 3-month period. So we got very nervous because that would obviously put us out of business had that happened in the winter. So we took on the process of trying to find the latest and greatest technology, being prudent with our dollars as well. And we found these boilers, which unfortunately they're computer controlled and they're very sensitive. And at this point, they've been kicking out on us a lot and tripping alarms, and it's been an issue. So we sought the relief to try and get to the Detroit water, and we realized that we are not on the township border. We're not poised for annexation. We have no tax base. We're nonprofits, so that's another unusual event for us. But we did see a path. It's a 900-foot stretch that we can directional bore. And I had our engineers come in and calculate our gallons per minute uses and so forth. And in reality, what we're asking to do is to stretch a small 3-inch private line that we'll own, we'll pay for, we'll cover the cost of it, we'll maintain it across a couple people's property onto our property and tie into the Detroit water. The issue that Christine, and I don't want to take too much time, but I've been in the land development business my entire career. I've built 38 subdivisions, about 6,500 home sites, so I'm very familiar with what I'm talking about. But I will also say that in my career, I've been in front of a lot of township and dealt with a lot of people. And I just want to tell you, your village president has been handling us intelligently, professionally, politely, helpfully, and solution-oriented. And when we came to her, it wasn't something she wanted to do because it does open up somewhat of a can of worms, although, again, I take the position that we are totally different than anybody else. We are a nonprofit. So in doing this, Christine has fought for the village's position, and that, Ford Motor Company, she had suggested, was a possible loss of water revenue and so forth. And so what we worked out was that Washington Township has agreed to just bill us for water. And then they will turn that volume over to your offices, and then we will continue to pay our water and sewer bill based on those gallons of use. So in reality, yes, we would end up paying 2 water bills, but not 2 sewer bills. And we have ran the numbers and crunched it, and it makes sense for us. So again, that's why we're asking. We need your help. And we tried to help the community. You all know we do. I just wanted to also make mention too, this is our 100th year in the village of Romeo that we've held the Catholic Mass each week. So we're very proud of that. And as far as helping the community, there's nothing that needs more humanitarian needs than what's going on the other side of the world right now. But as an example, we, with our partnership with Forgotten Harvest, we've passed out over $2 million worth of food from our parking lot last year. So we're here to help. We're here to help the community. We've been here for 100 years, and we want to be here for another 100 years. We're trying to be good citizens, and we just hope that you can help us with this issue and allow us this permission for us to enter into an agreement. Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Maher?
I got a question for Mr. Clark.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier he has some concerns. I'd like to hear the concerns.
I do. One of them, Mrs. Malzahn has already touched on in the draft agreement, and it is an older agreement or proposal. I, on behalf of the village, have not responded to it. The Washington Township attorney prepared this based on some meetings that we had. Mrs. Malzahn's made reference to those. And so in fairness, this is unvarnished, the proposed agreement, but there is absolutely nothing in the agreement that benefits the village. And so if the structure is going to be that I probably shouldn't use this term, but I'm going to, it's late. If there's going to be this double billing, I think it should be baked into the agreement. There should be perhaps some other things that protect the village. My concern, in addition to that, is if you look at the location of the church, and if you look at the location of the church, you've got a high water user across the street in the car wash. There are some apartments that are at the very south end of the village, just across the driveway into Wellbridge, south of the church. And maybe even Wellbridge. I don't know what their volumes are in terms of their use. But you have some potentially high volume water users. And while I agree with Mr. Maher that the church is unique, I will tell you the next one in asking for it is going to be unique also. And the one after that's going to be unique. And so everybody's going to have a reason why you should do this. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but you need to, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it that way. My advice is, my recommendation is to think about not only this specific issue, but the implication and the broader potential application of what you do. And you also have, to Mr. Meyer's point about the uniqueness, usually it's somebody outside the village saying, give us water, give us sewer. Now you have somebody in the village saying, we don't want your water, we want somebody else's water, and we want somebody else to deliver the water. I've been in the village for 44 years, and I've never had that happen before. So I'll give you the uniqueness on that. My concern, as I mentioned more specifically, is there's nothing in the agreement that I think protects the village. I don't think that was intentional. I don't think there's legerdemain going on here where, here, do this, and then we're going to do something else. I think it's just at the rough stages in terms of the agreement. Certainly the proposal's not rough. Mr. Meyer's been very specific about it. But I am concerned about that. And then, generally speaking, which is your job, I'm concerned about the next one in line, because there will be other askers. And it's going to be hard for you to say no, but again, that's your job. So those are my concerns.
One thought I
have from this is we've had it come before us where we have users that use the water, but they aren't using, they're watering lawns, and they want to have a different rate with that. This is the reverse, where you have someone that is still going to use the sewer. And if we could tackle that being different than the other, where they're just using the water, and they're paying the full water rate, even if the apartments wanted to have that and they were willing to still pay the full water rate to the village to cover the sewer, we just wouldn't be giving them the water. I don't know long-term, how many people are going to be doing that, but if we're charging the full rate for water and sewer, and then they're getting their water from someplace else, I don't know, that would probably stave off some people from wanting to do that.
That was my concern as well, initially, right? How does that work? And honestly, why would they want to pay twice for the water? But when I posed that question, I hope would have been a deterrent, but clearly it didn't deter him at all from moving this forward, because the need is there. And so,
and I don't think that need is going to be available to a lot of businesses. It's just not. It's just too much. But as far as protecting the municipality, we even said, this is a temporary situation. If at some point in time, when you go through your water system and start to convert over, we'll come right, we're done with it. We don't really want to do this, but we would do it. And whatever protections you need, Mr. Clark, we're definitely supportive of that. We don't want to have it. As far as billing goes, that should be absolutely, I thought it was in the agreement, to be honest with you, so.
So I have a question. So currently, you're treating your own water as best you can with softeners, et cetera,
Yes.
like everybody else has to do. You guys are great for the community and all the things you've done. I'm not going to deny that.
I appreciate that.
But I do have a slight concern of the car wash across the street saying, well, we're sick of dealing with this softener stuff, buying salt, blah, blah, blah. Did it for them. We want the same thing.
But to Bob's point, if the ordinance and the precedence is set that they're paying for the water, whether they're using the water or not, based on the flows, then the village isn't losing any revenue.
So nobody's going to want
This is a
jump on
zero
board to that.
revenue loss for the village.
Okay,
Zero.
Yes.
Okay, I understand that.
Administratively, it's difficult. I'm not sure what the billing end looks like. Obviously, the contract needs some language updates to address that and to figure out the process of how does Washington Township submit whatever their metered flow is to us, and how does that all work. I think the lawyers can hash all those fine details out. I was just concerned with the amount of time that has gone by, and Mr. Maher's insistence that we really sort of address that it was time for this board to sort of understand the situation and either, agree that we would move in that direction, because they're putting a lot of money out in the engineering drawings and obtaining the easements, as well as, maintaining the equipment.
And that
based on
is
our
currently where we are at. In order to make sure this was even feasible and to not waste your time, we have gone forward and have the engineering design done. And we've also secured, bought, and paid for the easements to go across those properties. Again, we're going 6 feet under the earth and we're boring, so it's not is where we are at this point. And Christine is right. We have spent a lot of money to move it to this point. And we're really ready to green light this if we can get your permission.
Well, then I would like to authorize President Malzahn to execute the agreement between Romeo and, this time I can say, Washington Township and St. Clement Church.
We're going to amend it. We're going to
amend it.
Yeah.
It's going to come back before us, right?
Right.
Yeah. So negotiate it. I don't mean to step on this.
No, you're fine.
You're right,
Yeah.
I figured it was going to have to come back anyway, so.
Because you got billing cycles to work out that should be in here.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know, are we gonna just get a flow, numbers once a year? Are we gonna get them 3-4 times a year, like what we need?
Washington does it monthly.
So what were you
Those
reading?
kind of
You were
things
just
need
reading
to be
the
worked out. There's a lot of
recommendation.
little
Pretty much,
details. And
So maybe your motion should be to direct Christine and Mark to do some.
Yeah, I'll make a motion
Contract.
for President Malzahn and
Massaging.
Mr. Clark to look into this further and come up with an agreement.
I'll support.
Okay, to amend the agreement.
Does that mean if we come up with agreement where we can go forward?
Then we'd have to vote on it.
We still have to
It
vote.
would come before us again, but we're.
At least we're started. At least we've gotten started.
To work it out.
Pace of
Yeah, 'cause
government, I'm sorry. Right?
It's okay.
Yeah.
But we're one step closer.
I
know it
appreciate
sounds
that.
like-
No, I appreciate
To
that.
get
We
a
just,
good time,
we're,
yes.
we're looking at the weather and we're watching what's going on.
Yes.
A motion on the support.
Yes, so we had a motion by Bartholomew, and we had, who supported?
I did.
Hart. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would still question if other businesses or would look at doing this, because I know the car wash, they use a lot of water, but they also have a pretty intense filtration system that if they can lessen that cost, and then they jump too, and then does that just create a snowball effect where other businesses, homeowners with boilers and similar issues start saying, hey, you're letting these people, and then we're at a point where
They have to be.
we lose
Well,
this.
one, they have to be able to access the water line from that property line up to, Dickinson Street.
I don't
It's
think
just not,
this-
it's not feasible.
If I may just interject, this is costing us a serious amount of money to
I
do.
can respect that.
And I think any business that runs on a daily basis will not be able to handle the cost of doubling up the bill.
It would make sense.
We
to
can because of our uniqueness, and I don't mean to keep using that word, but it does work for us, and it does work for us to make the capital expenditure to do it. Is it something I think people are going to be rushing to your door to do? I don't think so, because I've looked at this very hard. I have two of our board members here with me. We're on our finance committee. This is not a willy-nilly thing that we're talking to you about. It's a very, very costly thing. But for us and for prudence, it does work.
Okay, so we had a motion by Bartholomew, we had support by Hart to authorize me to amend the agreement.
Authorize you and Mr. Clerk?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Just the last comment, we sincerely thank you for your consideration. It means a lot to us. We appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. I'm sorry it's so late.
I gotta go home and go to bed now.
Okay. So do we. So do we. We got 20 minutes to conclude this meeting. A couple of agenda items left. Next up, we have item 10J, Plant Moran. This action item, again, is presented from Clerk Trapp, as it is her wheelhouse as Chief Financial Officer for the village. But as just a bit of background, before she takes over the lead, our village accountant has recently resigned his position. Plant Moran has a governmental accounting division of which we would acquire an accountant to fill our staff vacancy, whether permanent or temporary, until a replacement can be found.
So we're gonna put this out for advertisement, but this person is in temporary, is that what I just heard?
Correct. The village has a history of hiring temp agencies for such position. We were fortunate to have Tim as a permanent, but now that that seat is vacant, we do have this opportunity to utilize an employee from Plant Moran as the temporary, as has been done in the past.
So you're still gonna put this thing out for
We can.
advertisement?
Yeah, well, yeah, it is currently posted. Actually, it is posted for a permanent position. I have been getting a few resumes in. So, but in the meantime, because we do have, Tim is officially gone, his last day, and he turned in his key, so we have that vacancy right, it's
So this person's
immediate.
just filling the void until you look over all the resumes, okay?
I mean, if that's what is chosen, yes.
What are we currently paying hourly for Tim, or what were we?
He was salary at 26 grand a year. And then his hours varied because he was at a salary position.
How does this cost compare?
Pardon me?
How does this cost compare? Is this going to be an increase for us, or?
Well, it
I think
depends
the-
on how many hours. There's
Yeah.
there's a table that's included in here that, depending on which level of proficiency, right, the village would need, whether you have an accountant consultant at $140 an hour, senior accounting consultant at $160, a manager at $220, or a partner principal at $340.
But you're going to make a recommendation of what we need. Is that going to be an increase or a decrease?
It should not be an increase. I mean, it's going to come and go as far as like, budget's coming up, that it's going to take extra time. And then when we go into months where we don't have the additional projects, it's just going to be the general ledger and bank reconciliations, which probably average about 2 hours a week.
So some months could be more.
Right.
If they stay on and have to do audit work, right?
Correct.
Budget, depends on how many meetings we're gonna take to establish our current fiscal, or next fiscal year budget. Right, so at this point, we truly don't have a very good idea of how many hours it will take, but we know we have an immediate need because the budget is upon us and we need to get that, or Catherine needs to get that drafted. So we had a Zoom meeting with one of the principal partners, with the lead manager, and with a young lady named Danielle, who would be assigned to our account. She actually lives at 34 DeQuinder, so she's nice and close. Although not a village resident, she is certainly close. I met her at the Capitol Conference as well, and I think she'll do just fine to at least keep us up to date and current until we, again, either find a replacement to hire somebody. Again, we're looking for a specific skill set. Municipal
Correct.
accounting is not an average, everyday, background that people come with. We know based on the previous accountant who didn't have any municipal experience, how much financial work we had to do for our audit. We had to pay for a lot of extra labor from UHY at that time to come in and reconcile things that just couldn't be reconciled. So
I make a motion that we move forward with this as a
So we have a motion by Bartholomew. Support by Edwards. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted, if you haven't already, if you would ask for a proposal from them, based on our operation, what they would think it would be an annual, how many hours, what
annual
level a person would be. So we would have, just an idea of how this is impacting us.
Well, to answer that question, we did talk about that in that meeting, and she thought it would be 2 to 3 hours a week of general ledger and bank
Correct,
recs,
yes.
is what we'd be looking at.
Right.
And then it would be project-based on top of that.
And that's what I'm saying,
So those projects would be, questionable.
But
So with the general stuff then, the 2 to 3 hours a week, would that be handled by the
accounting consultant?
The lowest,
140?
the lowest tier.
This would be the consultant.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess.
what I would ask
280 a
though
week, 2 hours.
is if they can look at our operation, because we pretty much do the same thing each year.
At 2 hours a week.
What is if they were gonna handle, if they were gonna propose, and I guess this can be if you're putting this out, because I would think we maybe wanna hire somebody and replace Tim. That was working really well. But if we have this, that they gave us a proposal that for a fiscal year, this is what it's gonna take to do what you've been doing. This is the level of who has to do that work, and put a number to that. Is it $100,000? Is it $30,000? That would be helpful, I would think.
All right, it would be a
Just measure
guesstimate, like I
this.
said, if projects do come up, but yeah, I can ask them for
You
that.
need somebody as a stopgap in doing that, but, you don't want to just keep doing that if it's not making fiscal sense. That's all.
Yeah, in the future too, if you could start taking some accounting classes, bringing yourself up to date there, getting more on top of what's going on.
To be that, or are you saying this to approve the proposed expenditure of hiring an accountant from Plant Moran to fulfill the vacancy of our existing village accountant? That seems pretty firm in replacing. I just want to know how you're stating it so I know how to vote.
So it's basically authorizing me to do the engagement letter. The services are at will, right? However
There's no
long
official
we need to
contract.
retain them. So for right now, we are hiring them to fill the vacancy, but they can be fired because this engagement letter doesn't cover any particular time frame. So we're not committing to a 1, 2, 3 multi-year contract. We're engaging them based on the rates that they've included in their proposal.
I understand.
Okay.
But there's also nothing in here stating that. You're saying that, but it says to fill the vacancy. So I would like us to go out for bid. We need to get some quotes. We need to not just take this and leave it.
maybe
So
do
I'm
this for
asking the
90
way that the
days.
motion's being stated. How are you stating it?
Yeah, because even at the 3 hours a week, that's just for the basic stuff, no projects, no anything else, that's 22 grand. And we're only paying 26 now for everything. So, yeah, I'd definitely like to see, like Bob was saying, some numbers from them on what it would take for the whole year. And then also send it out or let them bid on it.
That would take us through the end of our, 3 months would basically take us through the end of our fiscal year.
I'm just confused. It wouldn't be a bid process. We have
Or post
resumes
it,
coming in,
advertise it, yeah.
applicants coming in, so.
Yeah.
Right, we would continue with that, but
Right.
maybe give this a.
But then what would we be
timeframe
bidding out?
That, but in a month, you could say, hey, we got this great candidate and we're
Okay,
going to
yeah.
hire the person. But in 90 days, we aren't just gonna, this is gonna be our accountant for, and that would take us through the end of this fiscal year.
Great.
But I'm speaking, I don't mean to speak.
No. So we have to redraft what we have here for me to make the motion to do what we have to do?
You can amend your motion if you need to.
You can hire him, but maybe put a time frame to it?
We could do that.
You know,
If there's not- yeah,
And we
that's
can
fine.
revisit, and if it's
So
working
it's the
out great,
same
we
with,
can extend.
with 90 days.
Okay, so you're amending your motion to say to hire Plant Moran for a 90-day period, interim
Correct.
period?
Yep.
Okay. Do you still support that? Or do you think-
Yeah, I'm just concerned about 90 days because that doesn't take us to our budget. That cuts us short. So I'd almost be more willing to go 120 days. And that way we actually make sure, I don't want to say
Well,
it, but I thought you had so.
Through the end of June would be our budget, because July 1st is
Yeah,
our
well, we're
next
not
year.
to the end of March yet, so.
Right, well, 2 weeks. Tell
Well,
them.
you're gonna hire them and then let them go 2 weeks before July 1st?
I can change my motion to.
No, I don't mean, maybe it goes to the end of our fiscal year.
Just, there we go, end of fiscal year.
Now, you're talking end of the fiscal year.
Right,
But
that
that's
adds
June
2
30th.
weeks to that, and it makes sense that they would carry us through to our fiscal year. And
But I'd be willing to change it to 120 days, as to what Matt said, to give us enough time.
Approve 120 days for Plant Moran.
Correct.
Okay. You still support 120
Yeah,
days?
that's fine.
Okay. Can you take a roll call on that? Is there any other discussion? Roll call?
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Poznanski?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
President Malzahn?
Yes.
Hart?
yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We, I don't know if we need to make a motion to agree to meet past 10 o'clock. We've got 10 minutes left with one agenda item and in our closed session. So I guess we'll just monitor that closely. So the last agenda item on the regular new business, again, is issued on behalf of Clerk Trapp. In September, a bit of background, September of 2021, Trustee Poznanski and Trustee Parker were each given a FOIA request for 2 different topics, respectively. Both trustees were contacted just after the state of Michigan regulated timeline of compliance of when to expect completion of their request, and they both refused to comply. Catherine, as the FOIA coordinator, has requested this be an agenda item to get the proper action so that she can do the duties that are assigned to her. So I take.
Okay. Prior to handing out these FOIA requests to the trustees, President Malzahn and I did meet with Mark Clark to discuss this. And then after the state of Michigan regulated timeline had expired, again, we met with Mark Clark, President Malzahn and I, to discuss what would action need to be taken, and he said that it would need to be taken to the board. I also reached out to another municipal attorney for a second opinion. She mirrored exactly what Attorney Mark Clark said, that this would be need to be taken to the board for any further action for them not complying and willfully breaking state of Michigan laws.
What are the 2 topics?
One topic
You have
was
nothing listed here.
that Trustee Parker said that he had in his possession photographs of the village vehicle as submitted by residents, and Trustee Poznanski on her political page in the capacity of a trustee was soliciting emails to her personal email account to a particular agenda item in which I requested those emails. I have also since filed complaints with the State of Michigan Department of Attorney General for elected officials not complying with Michigan state laws in regards to the FOIA requirements.
Photos of car.
So it's a bit of a sticky wicket, right? This is an
Well,
uncomfortable
this-
situation
this
that
falls
none of
down
us
to-
want to, not, point the fingers, but the rules are the rules, right? I don't make up the FOIA request rules. She's obligated as the FOIA coordinator to make sure that the rules are followed. Just as Trustee Poznansky, filed an OMA complaint, she's doing what she thinks is right in her viewpoint to make sure that we're all following the same rules. And the FOIA rules apply to all of us across the board.
How come that
So,
this thing is incomplete? I mean, I see you have as far as the fees, filing a public hearing, a public body, but the first part of this information you're giving us, it's not there. And shouldn't we be reading the whole thing or the top part doesn't tie in with the bottom. We can't even read the top part. It just starts at written appeals for fees. I mean, where's the rest of the information above that?
I did
are you
not.
talking about the state of Michigan FOIA laws? Right.
I'm just thinking about, you should be reading the whole thing. If you're gonna accuse somebody, let them read the whole thing.
Well,
I don't know what's
Right.
going on here, but I'm only reading what you provide me. And you just now told me the two topics. I mean, this thing just says two different topics. We should have known what the topics were. It should have been in this information so I can at least make a judgment.
I don't know that the topics matter.
Well, it does. I mean, for photos for a
Why
car?
would the topics matter? The
can accuse
complaint
somebody
is that
without
a
even letting them
FOIA
know what's
request
going
was
on?
submitted. She has an obligation as the FOIA coordinator to fulfill that, and her request has gone unanswered.
So,
Can we resolve this? I mean, Justin, do you have the pictures? Do you have the pictures?
That's ridiculous.
I
Well, they've been
guess
answered already.
when we're going to go back to when you said I was wasting time, and we're going to determine that if that's a public or private image, right? And I've responded. It might not be the response you wanted, but there was a response given.
This was a question that was asked of Attorney Mark Clark, that is this a public record that can be FOIA'd? And his response was yes.
Well, wait a minute.
Okay. I'm sorry if I misspoke. That was a conversation from
I would rather,
September.
if I could, speak for myself. The question is, there are actually two questions, probably more, but let's start with two.
We got 5 minutes.
All right. One is it a public record? Now, I don't recall weighing in on whether it was a public record or not, but I did say that's the question. Is it a public record? And then, as part of that, the other question is it a public record that exists or is required to be maintained? So by way of example, you could, anybody, I don't mean you, Ms. Trapp, I mean anybody could FOIA me to see how much I pay for the Detroit Free Press. Well, you know the Free Press shows up on my porch on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, so you can kind of figure it out, but it's not a public record. I don't have to tell you that. And so you first have to determine, one, is it a public record, and does it exist? Because if the record, you can ask for something that may be in the public realm, but if it doesn't exist in response to a FOIA request, you, again, generically, the generic you, as a public body, you don't have the law does not require you to make a record pursuant to a request if no record otherwise exists. So
he used it as a point of reference, as evidence in his speech.
Well, again, that's what, if you authorize me to start sued under the Freedom of Information Act, that's what a judge is going to decide. One, is it a public record? Does it exist? And who is in possession of the public record? And so, I mean, you get into all these, there are some, I mean, this is an annuity for a lawyer, and I'm glad to take it on whatever your decision is. But you're going to get really into the weeds because you have the question of who, is it a public record? What was it made in a public capacity, or is it somebody who has a public position but also has a private life? And so you're going to ask a judge to decide some of these fuzzy issues, which, again, is okay. It's your choice. But I just want you to know it's simple for me to draft a complaint, march over to the Macomb County Circuit Court Clerk's office and file it. The result is not going to be so easy or quick.
And I would like to say, to state that I have refused to comply is a lie. You all heard me reply at that meeting. I replied.
Well, in the FOIA request specifically how to reply.
The FOIA coordinator asked me to review the FOIA request. I reviewed it, and I stated that.
And I said email your response. Email copies and response to the above email address. I never received an email in regards to a response for this FOIA request. It specifically, there's one thing on the FOIA request form. It asks specifically the method of delivery. I am still speaking. I am still speaking. I am still speaking. Point of order. I know I can't say that as a non-voting board member.
Apparently we don't care about point of order.
We're all just trying to do the best that we can. It's 10 o'clock, we're all late. This, again, is an uncomfortable situation, but I have to respect the laws that are put upon the village to adhere to. Specifically, to your request,
Christine, I'm going to pause you for a second and make a motion to extend the meeting because we still got to go into closed session.
Because I have something I want to mention.
we had a motion by...
Second.
Okay, all in favor? to extend past 10?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Justin.
Let's end this.
Right. The additional FOIA request came from the Michigan State Police, right? They escalated their request to Catherine, which again has still remained unfulfilled. So there's another jurisdictional body that's requesting that information, and I understand the reluctance. Actually, I don't understand the reluctance to give the documents, but I know that there's a battle between the entities, and it becomes a bit personal. So we need to take the personal out, and we need to look at what is the rule, what's the law, right?
Absolutely.
The law
and when I
says-
stated my reply, I stated I have nothing to give. I understand that you don't like my answer, and you wish that I had something to give you.
You didn't follow the FOIA request.
I have nothing to give, and
You
I've
did not
told you
follow
that.
the FOIA request. It clearly states the method of delivery.
My FOIA
and you did
coordinator
not.
asked me to review it.
I didn't ask you to review it. I asked you to email me items
Didn't
found
ask
in
that.
this request.
Please review the FOIA request attached that is addressed to you.
Yeah, and I said email
I
to the
reviewed
above
it.
address. Email
This is
to-
your email. I'm reading it.
No, well, I have
You
the
asked me
FOIA
to
request
review
that I sent it to
That's
you.
separate, as my FOIA coordinator asked me to review it.
Yeah, asked you to review it in regards to comply with the instructions that were given to you.
You didn't say that. You asked me to review it.
I have to explain how a FOIA request works.
That would have been nice.
I have to explain to an elected official how a FOIA request first
That would've
works.
been nice.
Ones that you fill out repeatedly. You're very familiar with this form. You're very familiar with the method of delivery of the boxes I checked.
So all you need is a picture of the picture.
All I
That
was
is
given
Trustee
was an
Parker's
email.
FOIA. This is a different FOIA.
I was told to
Both
review
are
it.
non-compliant.
I was never given my rights. I was never asked to do anything past review it.
No, you were given a FOIA request to
And
submit
my coordinator asked me to
information.
review it.
Well, okay. so
Catherine,
you're refusing
you're the
to.
FOIA coordinator?
I am the FOIA coordinator.
Who is responsible to respond to said FOIA? If it wasn't you that submitted the FOIA, if Joe Smith came in and filled out a FOIA, and you're the one that would have to respond to that, correct?
Well, correct. I would have to contact the departments involved.
And possibly get said
and-
information if needed.
Correct.
And then you would have to respond.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Within how many days?
You have to do an acknowledgement within 5 days, and then you can describe that it can take up to 10 business days after to fulfill the fulfillment and request.
Have you responded to those FOIA requests?
Yes, and these FOIA requests were then given to you, and you are the subject to be responding.
But did you respond to them, to yourself?
Well, I did email, I believe I emailed both of you.
Regardless of what information was provided, did you respond within the time frame required?
Yes, and those involved did not respond. Those that were involved in this FOIA request.
Do you have your
outside of
response
me,
to
did not
those
respond.
FOIAs?
So can we just,
I see what you're doing, but no, that doesn't take away the fact that these two FOIA requests went to the trustees.
So regardless if you got the information, and whoever that might be, regardless if you got that information, you still have an obligation to respond to that FOIA.
These are 4 months overdue for
And it's funny,
fulfillment.
4 months overdue that haven't been spoken about until I brought up a violation. It seems that this is retaliatory.
Oh, no, you can,
Yes,
if you,
ma'am, I
no,
have been
if you want to
harassed.
see the caller
I
ID
have
of how
been
many
harassed,
times
and
and
now
the
I'm being
dates,
threatened with a
okay, you
lawsuit.
refuse to let me speak. I know I'm not a voting member, but I still have the ability to have the floor. Per President Malzahn, do I have the authority to have the floor at this time?
yes.
I can show you phone records of me contacting Attorney March Clark in the fall time, around the time that this was submitted, and probably since December, trying to contact, God bless our schedules were different, an outside attorney for another municipality to get a second opinion. So no, the timing, think all you want, but this has been ongoing since about December.
I'm pretty sure President Malzahn said it was right after I brought up the violation of OMA. You literally just said it.
So I would like to weigh in if I may. I don't think I can talk too much about this, the specific incident, but our Chief Dan had a situation where an officer made a mistake, and he couldn't let it go. He couldn't sweep it under the rug. He knew at that point he had to make a decision to do what he was supposed to do his job. It wasn't fun, but I think this is the same situation here. Catherine has a job. This came up. Then it says here they're both refusing to comply, even though I know it's trying to be argued out here with that, because this could be taken care of if they would have just applied. So with that, I'm going to make a motion that we move forward with this action item for approval on disclosure of legal action in regards to FOIA.
Do we have support?
I just want to have a little more discussion.
Okay. Anna?
Let's get it over with.
What I would say is Justin said in a meeting that he had pictures of a car. They may or may not exist. He doesn't
village
want to
car.
show those. If he had them, I don't think it's a big deal. He would have said, yeah, here they are. This is what it was. I don't know why, but it doesn't. Do we care? Do we care? I don't care. But I guess the content, that's where you're arguing, is what it is. I would say, like Mr. Clark said, if you don't have them in your possession, then respond that I do not have them. The statute of you keeping them,
I've responded.
you want to say. Okay.
I've responded.
Okay.
You got a
I don't
motion
know
out
what the
there.
response is.
Does that have a
Obviously,
second?
it's not what she needs. Now,
You
Megan's
did not.
Does that have a
emails,
motion?
is this, because the state police, is this about benches, or what is? Okay. That, we haven't even uncovered any of that. Last time, you have a bench, and you just said you can't because it's an ongoing investigation. It's been 8 months. Is it still an ongoing event? Like, who gave you the bench? Do you want to disclose that, or no? Can we just be
This isn't
transparent?
even in question right now.
Well, I think that's what the emails are. These things should just not be here. It should be transparent.
This has
It's like,
nothing to
I
do
made a
with the
mistake.
bench.
So-and-so said I could have one.
got a
Ted
motion.
took two. Marion has
Give us a
one. I
second on the
have
motion
one.
so we
I
can
have
vote
no,
for it,
you
yes
two.
or no. Let's get out of here.
Just get rid of it. I mean, just.
Why debate it
What are
anymore?
we doing?
I didn't even know we were talking about benches today.
Let's
Bob.
get it over with.
These FOIAs have nothing to do with
Give him a
benches.
second.
All right, let's call them.
I don't think Megan's has anything to do with benches, Bob.
It was the email.
Call a vote.
No, it's not. It's a completely different topic.
Everybody is frustrated.
Let's do it.
Why do you have
Yeah.
to force your hands?
Right. Exactly.
I can give my
There's nothing
response
to
again,
give.
right now.
I am not
Megan,
required
so there's
to
a motion out there.
manufacture something to you.
Can you please submit your response as
There is
requested
a motion.
in the FOIA
I
documents?
was never requested. My
Yes,
FOIA
you
coordinator
were.
asked me
You
to
were
review
given a
it.
FOIA request.
There is a
You were given
motion.
an official FOIA request.
I did.
That's why I made the motion,
You
because
gave
it's
the
just gonna go round and
response.
round.
As
Funny thing
put on
is,
the
I've
FOIA.
never been given one before.
I don't
so
know.
yeah,
Yes,
maybe
you
I don't know
have.
how
You
to-
had it.
I got the
emailed.
FOIA after
blame
the
you
deadline.
guys.
These pages
After the
to
deadline.
you.
I don't blame you.
I emailed these pages to you. I
I don't
emailed
blame
you an official FOIA request.
Blame you at all.
All right, we kind of look like
There's a
we're in
motion.
the circus here,
Yeah,
so I would
completely.
like us
It's
to
up to you
circle
guys.
back.
I was put in a
and
situation where I
remain
received a FOIA
and be
request
courteous.
after said deadline.
No,
We just.
100%.
there was no communication.
100%. I had to come into the village office to
wait a
get it
minute,
because you
wait a
didn't even
minute.
send it to me.
After said
Please,
deadline?
stop. This isn't getting us anywhere.
I have
It's
no
not
idea
getting
what
us
you're
anywhere.
saying.
Correct.
It's not getting us anywhere. If you need the documents, can you please send them one more time? And can you both respond as the FOIA directives require?
Please.
Is that too much to ask? If she sends them out one more time, can you please provide the formal request as it states on the FOIA documents?
I would like my FOIA coordinator to let me know what the process
It's
is.
not gonna happen.
You know the process.
Can we,
You fill out FOIAs all the
You
time.
do
You
the
know the
process. Do or
process.
die.
No, did
For
any
the
of you know?
sake
If you were handed a
of
phone,
the
what are we
audience.
supposed to do as trustees?
I have a motion on the table.
Yeah. let's
There was
go
no
to-
second.
So it's dead?
There's a
Yes.
motion.
Yes.
Okay, then I'll have to rescind it, right?
Well, no, it
It
just
just
dies
dies.
because there was
Okay.
no support
I don't
for
even
it,
have to record it.
right? Again, I'm just trying to figure out, you know.
Motion to go into closed
Put your
session.
hand in
Nobody
the
wants legal action.
things we don't
Great.
want to
I
go
don't
into.
think so, but if I responded, I don't know what else to
Do
do.
we have a
You
second?
did not respond.
Motion to go into
You
closed
did not
session?
respond. You did not
Well, we
respond.
haven't even got a commitment yet from them that they're gonna redo this.
I heard it died.
Because we gotta do one or the other.
Well, you know what, if it doesn't happen until next month, we'll bring this document back again, and we'll
Died? I'm waiting.
get this taken care of so you can
Try and
finish your job.
respond right officially and get this.
What do you need clarification on, Justin?
I don't know what else to do. I've responded.
You did not
White
respond.
guard's wearing off.
I did not receive any pictures.
I've
No.
responded to the FOIA. Do you want me to respond again? Based on the FOIA, because the last time I responded, I was overtalked by Bob, and it was cut out. Based on the FOIA request given, there is no information to provide.
So then you lied by saying you had pictures of the village car when you didn't.
Oh, man, I got your moment. Don't you love those, Nate?
No.
No, but.
And I said, again, method of delivery was email.
Say it, regret it, write it, regret it.
So this method of delivery is not a response to the FOIA.
How was it sent to me?
Megan, do you need
Via
the
email.
clarification on how to respond?
Never.
It's 2022, how do you not have email?
If my FOIA
This is
coordinator
why
would
the
ask me
people
to
will vote.
respond, I would respond.
I sent you, I don't understand how getting a FOIA request means you don't have to read a FOIA request.
Why they will vote.
You were emailed a FOIA request. I don't understand. I don't
I'm just
understand.
not sure at all how.
I'm not understand. Somebody who fills out FOIAs constantly doesn't understand how FOIAs are done.
Motion
We'll
to
bring
go
it
into
back
closed
if you don't get
session.
your answers.
Second.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Although you're welcome to stick around if you want. We need a few minutes in closed session to review.
And you need a vote.
We need a roll call vote for closed
And
session,
you need a
please.
reason.
Okay, motion to go into
Yes.
closed session.